distance race?
Well, there would be a difference between dirt and turf for me, but on dirt, I really am looking for how the race is going to shape up and the pace, really just like any race at any distance. But I want to know the ones that can really stay the classic trip. The Pacific Classic here at 1.25 miles, I usually make that, become sort of the key factor. Do I think, and it's different than 1.125 miles. It really, really is. Can they get that true classic distance? Do they excel at that distance? Horses like Game On Dude, Arrogate, one of them, his Travers win, his Breeders' Cup Classic win last year, he needed all of that distance to catch California Chrome, or it wasn't going to get him a year ago. They both, just ran unbelievable races.
They really did, and that's a huge performance that you were talking about. And of course, now race number 5. I'm curious, are you alive in the pick 5? Did you play a pick 5?
No, yes I did, and no, I am not. No, I got knocked out, and it was just one of those things. We talked about it going into the first race of where are you going to single, where are you going to take your budget. I liked Mr. Hinks in the first race at the quarter pole. I thought I had a good shot, but wasn't able to put away Americanized. So I'm out. I'm going to have to regroup. What about you?
That's it, regrouping. I've been saving up, of course. Race number 6 coming up next will be our first Breeders' Cup race on the day. We do have the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, and I think that's just one of the races I am most excited for on this day. I think there's a lot of value opportunity in there and some really, really nice horses.
And don't forget that that's going to be the pick 4 today. We sometimes get accustomed to the last 4. Today's an exception. 6 through 9 is going to be that pick 4 this afternoon. Our 10th and final race, a non-championship race, that's going to be the Senator Ken Matty. So horses coming out now on the bark wood chips down there in the beautiful paddock at Del Mar. And as we get a better look at these horses right now, here's number 2, Info Bedad, who we have not talked about. Blinkers off, corrected weight of 121, a recent claim for 62.5.
I am really intrigued by this horse. I think he has some natural speed. I think he can stay the distance. He's won at Santa Anita going 1.25 miles. He showed speed, ran against some of the other horses in this field and ran solidly going 1.5 miles in the Cougar 2, as you mentioned a couple starts back. And yes, he was a recent claim, but he was obviously a high-priced claim. I think at a price, he is 15 to 1 right now. Joel Rosario in the saddle. Maybe the blinkers out will kind of help him to settle, sustain that momentum, and sustain that speed.
Well, they're trying something new, and it's kind of a funny wrinkle because they claimed him off of Ronus Racing and John Sadler. They're racing against hard aces here, so that's the business we're in, even for races like this, grade 2 for $200,000.
It is, and it's pretty funny when you see horses running against their old stablemates. Maybe they're kind of giving them a little nod and a little hello as we're seeing horses in the paddock. And just a quick note on the number 4, Estrashada. You can see she is maybe a little bit more lighter framed than some of the other horses in here. And John, I don't necessarily steer away from a mare that's running against the boys if I think that she can take it.
All right now let's catch up with Aaron Greider, who's right down in the paddock.
Yes, I was looking at Archinova and I spoke with Chris Landeros, who I know is very confident in this horse. This horse doesn't win that often, but is very consistent. This always shows up, runs a decent race, but gets minor awards for it. Horse is 2 for 16, and the last time it's won was October of 2016. But on a distance like this, on a track like this, it's about getting a rhythm. You've got to be on a horse that's not going to pull you. You're not going to get in trouble. You're not going to do anything that wastes their energy. You want a nice, smooth flow every part of the race. It's a long race. They're going around 3 churns, and you've got to make it easy on the horses.
Always love the insight from the jockeys, and Aaron Greider, who I talked about before, known a long time. I'll never forget Well Armed and that big galloping win, and he never will either. Just obviously kind of a standout for his career, and what a horse that was. But interesting in terms of talking to the jockeys and how important they say it's all about getting the horse to relax time and time again.
It really is, and a great nugget by Aaron saying that it's all about making it easiest on the horse, and obviously a more relaxed horse makes your trip as a jockey, as a rider, really as any part of connections, makes it a lot easier because the horse is more comfortable and you just let them do their job. Sometimes it is just about staying out of the way of the horse.
We saw Destin just walk out of the shot right there. Really did look full of himself. Going 1.5 miles. We talked about this before. Maybe there's a tipping point where you don't want them to be too on edge. Maybe settle down a bit, but he certainly seemed to be full of himself. There's another one. Look at number 6, Ground Rules. Really just kind of on edge and just seems ready to go as they leave the paddock right now.
And by contrast, Hard Ace is a little bit more calmer demeanor. And as we know, we certainly can see that he can stay the distance. And I think it's interesting when you are looking at these horses and the way that they're acting beforehand. I know both you and I do like to be able to take a look at them in the paddock paddock and see their physicality, see their demeanor, and you compare the number 6 Ground Rules, who he doesn't normally have an early pace. He kind of has a later turn of foot. He's stretching out. He was claimed for 16,000, as you mentioned. He's one a little bit keyed up before this race.
So 1 mile and 3/4 here the distance. We think the Pacific Classic is far, but this one is very far. And there's a look at dressed in Hermes. So there's got to be days where you're dressed in Hermes, right? Come on.
I don't know. I mean, I was certainly hoping maybe one day, but dressed in Hermes, certainly a very interesting horse. I remember the start of his career, very highly touted. He's now 3rd off of the layoff. He had a big break from November to August. So he just came back. He's had a couple of races, one on the dirt, one on the turf, and if you look at his recent form, it seems as of late maybe some of his turf form is a bit stronger. He is 0 for 3 on the dirt, but we do know he can go a distance of ground. He just hasn't won a race since March of 2016.
All right, the horse is about to come onto the track now for race number 5 on this Friday championship day on the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. This is the Marathon presented by TAA, a grade 2 of $200,000. It's a field of 8, and right now number 7 Hard Aces is the 9-5 choice as the horses walk onto the track, and just went to 2-1 there with that last shot. The bettors right now making this a 2-horse race between number 3 Destin and Hard Aces. There's not a clear-cut second choice, and so now to the post parade, led by number 1 Archinova. Talked about him from the barn of Ian Wilkes. Bred by Gainesway Thoroughbreds, ridden by Chris Landeros. 3rd, going 1 mile and 5/8 at Belmont last out.
And he had a big performance going 1 mile and 3/4, 2 starts back for trainer Ian Wilkes. We have the 2 Infobidad Argentina bred, first off the claim for Neil Drysdale is the 2.
Destin was an allowance winner 2 starts back, but ran 2nd by a nose on the Belmont when he was 3. Long fused horse, right now 2-1.
And here's the mare Estrachada, another Argentinian bred, 118 again will be the weight. Javier Castellano in the saddle for trainer Mike Pipey.
A gelding by Sensational, kind of looks like him, is number 5 Noble Nick. We talked about him touting himself. He's on the bid. He's looking good down there. Our Breeders' Cup mount on this day here for William Anton Georgi.
And here's the 6 Ground Rules, also a relatively recent claim, $16,000, 9 non-winners of 3. Now he'll try graded stakes company Keith DeSormo in the saddle.
Here's number 7 Hard Aces with those green silks of Ronis Racing, the 7-year-old by Hard Spun. Great record on this track, great lifetime record, can stay all day. He's made $1.2 million.
And rounding out the field is the number 8 Dressed in Hermes, 3rd off the layoff, going from the turf to the dirt. Hasn't won, as we mentioned, since 2016, but we'll try to remedy that today. And
also most of the best races on the grass, but does round out this post parade. And right now, we're going to go ahead and catch up with Gabby Gaudet on our team. And she caught up as well with trainer Todd Pletcher. Here's Gabby.
Here in the paddock with trainer Todd Pletcher as he sends out Destin in the marathon. And Todd, talk a little bit about Destin. Obviously, he's a horse that's been accomplished at multiple distances, but what has prompted you to run him in the marathon?
Basically, the race he ran in the Belmont when he just missed by a nose gave us confidence he'd handle the distance. He's sort of a galloping sort. I think in a race like this, you need one that'll kind of turn off the bridle early on, and I think he'll do that.
And his last race in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, obviously he didn't get out of the gate extremely well and found himself farther off the pace. Do you think he's a better horse when he's closer to the pace?
Well, I think he's going to be closer today just because I don't see much pace. But, yeah, I mean, he got off to a poor start in the Jockey Club. Then he got in some trouble in the middle of the turn. I don't think that was indicative of his true ability level.
And you send out Orbelution coming up next. Talk a little bit about Orbelution. How do you think that she's going to turn the tables on some of the same foes that she faces today?
Well, it's a tall order. The one thing we felt like in her last start at Belmont was the ground was a little bit loose on top, and Johnny said when she went to accelerate, the ground just kind of broke away from her. So I'm thinking she'll like the firmer ground here. And, she's got a nice turn of foot. I think like everyone else in the race, we need to work out a good ground-saving trip and find a spot when the time's right.
And lastly, Todd, you send out Stainless and Has It on tomorrow's card, too. Stainless, interesting move, bringing her back to the main track after an impressive performance in the Jessamine. What was the move behind that?
Well, part of it was common ownership with Orbelution. We wanted to keep the 2 fillies separated. I think as much as anything last time, it was just a stretch out to 2 turns that helped her, and I think she's probably equal on turf and dirt.
And Has It, he's just naturally fast. You expect the same type of speed from him tomorrow?
I think we'll, coming out of the postseason, that we'll try to get some ground, save some ground in the first turn, and that's going to be by being forwardly placed.
Excellent stuff. All right. Good luck this weekend, Todd.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed that insight from Todd Pletcher. I really feel like Todd gives you a candid, just a frank opinion, and handicappers and horse players respond to that. Talked about the pace, talked about the nuts and bolts of the horses, and talked about Destin here too.
He really does, and it's incredible the number of horses that are in his operation, and he keeps everything down to a science. If you ever are out at the barn and see him training and see how things work, almost like machinery, very well-oiled machine at that, and he has a very keen perception of what each of his horses needs. Now, we were watching the number 3 Destin warming up with the pony. He seemed to me, John, to be just a little bit keen to get away from the pony. Looks like he's raring to go.
Yeah, he definitely does. I like it when they've got that bowed neck. He's doing that right now. There's a little bit of it. He's got his ears pricked, so he seems to be happy. It's tough to tell with a gray horse like him, but I thought I saw just a bit of lather, maybe getting a little bit warm on the neck with the reins, but I don't want to make too much of it because overall I do think he looks fantastic out there.
Overall, he does seem to be handling himself well. One horse I wanted to mention, I saw on the screens warming up, was the number 1 Archinova. We talked about this horse for Ian Wilkes. We saw him warming up without the pony, had his ears pricked. Really lovely movement quality to this horse. I think at a nice 7-to-1 price, he might be a bit of an outlier.
You know, it's funny. We expect the European shippers to go without the pony because that's what they do out there. They don't do it. But in a race like this for the American horses, it's funny, when you see them get away from the pony and try to do a lot of warming up, you see him over there. He's not so much breezing up and down the backside, he's just on his own. But when they do go and kind of really ask them for something, you typically see that more before a sprint race than a marathon race like this. But he's just kind of taking it easy.
You would, and I think that is a big thing with a jock maybe trying to get a horse to settle. Sometimes we'll even see them take their feet out of their stirrups, trying to get a horse to calm down. Now, that's certainly not the case with Hard Ace. As mentioned in the paddock, how he was very calm and relaxed. He's just kind of walking very chill.
Yeah, Santiago Gonzalez aboard, knows him extremely well. John Sadler has kept him going good for a long time. And back to the 1 Archinova, like we said, he's back with his friend now, and everything's going quite well. I don't know, I do believe this horse can run all day. I think the others are probably just a little bit above. It's going to take a career best, but he's also winless this year. I still think he's got a good look at least a check if things go right.
Yes, and I think that's one of the beauties of maybe you're playing a trifecta or superfecta, and you like the 2 favorites. You've got a short price, 2-to-1 on Destin and 9-to-5 right now on Hard Aces, but maybe you like a horse at 7-to-1 along the rail with Archinova, who again might be able to pick up 3rd or 4th and get a check, or even maybe split the 2 favorites at some point.
Well, Todd Pletcher alluded to the fact that there's just not much pace in this race. He talked about he's expecting Destin to be closer up, and so just kind of taking a closer look at how this race is going to be run. Noble Nick, the 5, probably going to get out and show his customary speed. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the pace setter. Destin's going to be closer. Archinova, he's probably not going to be too far back. With the 2 Info Bedad, I have to think with blinkers off that they want to get him to relax and maybe get back off that pace here.
I would think so. It's kind of interesting. If you look at his last couple of races, he had a really speedy performance 2 starts back against the likes of Hard Aces and Noble Nick in here. He wasn't able to hold on to that speed as much as I would have liked in the stretch. Taking the blinkers off, he actually did run without the blinkers earlier on in his career. If you look back towards the summer, the fall of 2016, without the blinkers, he still showed some early speed then. Perhaps some horses, when you take the blinkers off, they just kind of become a little bit more aware of their surroundings as opposed to just shooting out of the gate and being so oblivious as to what's going on around them. So maybe that will help him to kind of settle a little bit, keep that early speed, but perhaps maintain it because he's more aware of what the other horses are doing.
We talked about that claim. In this case, it's Hall of Fame trainer Neil Drysdale, and he's had some Breeders' Cup wins over the years. If you go way back to '84, Princess Rooney won the inaugural Breeders' Cup Distaff, trained by Neil, one of his first very best horses. He's obviously had some other ones. War Chant comes to mind, but in this case here, of course, not a championship race, but still the marathon. I think 21-to-1, the bettors are going to say that'd be a bit of an upset.
I would think so too, and certainly, as you said, you have good connections. So if there's anybody you could trust as far as a claim and putting them into Grade 2 company, you would certainly trust Neil Drysdale's opinion on there. As we look at some of the horses heading forward, Noble Nick and Ground Rules still very much on their toes.
So it's funny, the race that we were on for yesterday, you and I, was a grass race where the 2 favorites were standouts.
Yes.
This looks like much the same thing. 9-to-5, 2-to-1. Destin was 9-to-5 just a moment ago. They really are nailing in on these top 2, saying that it's a 2-horse race.
It is, and I agree with what you said, that some of the other horses that perhaps could figure in here need to take a step forward. You have some questions, some typically turf horses or things like that. As far as for me, I do think it's a 2-horse race as well, but I like the number 1 Archinova as an extra.
Well, folks, as always, always want to thank you. You're watching the Breeders' Cup Players Show presented by RTN. They're about to load for the Grade 2 Marathon presented by TAA. 1 3/4 miles. So settle in. We're going to have a lot to watch here. We'll be back after this race for sure with the load and the call. One of the very best in Trevor Denman.
Goes forward. In Fobedard in the brown cap. Hard Aces. Destine the grey comes forward. Destine going in. Estrecada goes forward. And Dressed in Hermé the last one. Dressed in Hermé comes out, goes in. They're all set now for the Marathon Stakes. Field sent on their 1 3/4 mile journey. They all appear to come away smoothly. Arcanova has no early speed, has dropped back last. Sorting themselves out up front, and in Fobedad now goes on at the rail to get the advantage. Destine the grey is right up alongside with Noble Nick on the far side, and Estrecada is a close-up fourth. It's a decent pace for 1 3/4 miles. Then they come back to Arcanova, who's made up some headway, is racing 6 lengths off the leaders. 3 more back to Groundbreaker. Hard Aces and Dressed in Hermé can tend to sit far back early. Into the turn they go now, and Joel Rosario takes in Fotobad off to lead them by almost 2. Destine is right there in the second spot though, and along the inside is Estrecada. They're slowing it down up front now. Noble Nick is getting closer on the far side, slowing it right down. They're all concertinaing together now. On the inside is Arca Nova. Up alongside of him comes Ground Rules, and then Hard Aces and Dressed in Hermé. So there's now only 6-7 lengths covering the lot as they come through the stretch first time round. And it's in Fobedad, drifted way off the rail, but still in front. Destine, the first of the greys, right there second. Estrecada's at the rail. Here's the other grey, Noble Nick in the 4th spot, just 3 lengths off these leaders. Down at the rail, Ground Rules has been able to make up ground because of the slow pace. In behind that comes Hard Aces, who's now only given them 5 lengths start. At the rail, Arcanova, and Dressed in Hermé is last. 7 lengths would cover the lot, half the journey covered now, and in Fobedad still shows the way by a length. Destine on the far side, and Estrecada scrapes paint. On the inside is Ground Rules. Ground Rules now makes a bit of headway, makes it 3 in a line for second. Then comes Noble Nick in the 5th position. Hard Aces hasn't been asked, are still 6 off the leaders. Back to Arcanova, who is being asked, and Dressed in Hermé is last. They make their way to the half-mile pole, and in Fobedard is still the leader. Now here's Ground Rules kicking through on the inside. Ground Rules turns the pressure on. Destine is travelling nicely on the far side. Destine now goes back to second. Then it's Noble Nick. Between runners Estrecada. Only 3 lengths separate them. And let's see, Hard Aces has asked for a run. And Hard Aces starts to make headway. How quick is it? Hard Aces is picking them off one by one. Hard Aces all the way up to third. Coming to the top of the lane, it's a matter of stamina now. In Fotobard the leader, Destine the danger. Hard Aces made that run, but looks like he's flattening out in the 3rd spot. They're at the top of the lane in Fotobad, drifts out again, but he's hanging on. Destine, oh, they're brushing each other with 1/8 of a mile to go, but Destine is still being handwritten by Johnny Velasquez, and it's Destine in front. In Fotobad runs a big one down at the rail, but Destine has the advantage, and Destine and John Velasquez have won today's Marathon Stakes from Infotobad. Hard Aces had to settle for third, then Noble Nick, Estrecada, Ground Rules, Arcanova, and Dressed in Hermé.
A matter of stamina, and the horse that could stay the trip best was number 3, Destin, the son of Giants Causeway. Great ride by John Velasquez. We heard from Todd Pletcher. They get the job done in the marathon presented by TAA.
They do, and it really was a perfect trip for Destin. John had him in the perfect spot, tracking the pace. They looked like early on a lot of horses broke well. It seemed then that nobody really wanted to go to the front. Joel Rosario took advantage of that. Sent in Fobedad, who honestly stayed on very, very well after setting. He ran a huge race, setting the pace the whole time.
Yeah, and with the blinkers off today, you know, Trevor made the announcement of him being off the rail. At the top of the stretch, we both saw Rosario maybe trying to drift out just a bit to engage Destin so his horse would, you know, react to him and come on. He did everything he could, but in the end, Destin was just just a bit too good for him to hold off.
He was a bit too good, and again, a really nice trip. It looked like Hard Aces was making that big move. He did end up flattening out a little bit, and really the top two, I think, were much the best in here. It ended up being a 2-horse race, not the two we were expecting, though.
Or the betters in this case. Yeah, Hard Aces, he did make that run on the far turn, but as, again, Trevor Denman alluded to, kind of ran out of steam. There's a photo for fourth, but 3, 2, and 7 of the top three. You can see the Longines fractional and final time there, 2:57.77. I can't say I'd be an expert at judging that, but it sounds pretty good, don't you think?
It does, it does. We don't see very many of these marathon races, particularly here in the U.S., but I think it was a huge performance from Destin. Again, Todd Pletcher mentioned his nose defeat in the Belmont Stakes, and it looked like he was just crying out for a little bit more distance, which is exactly what he got today.
Well, a huge run by Infobadad, again, not to take anything away from Destin, but I have to believe that if for whatever reason Destin did not get there first, we would have been looking at some kind of an inquiry or a jockey's objection.
Yes, I think so too. There was a little bit of drifting going on in the stretch, as you mentioned.
So the result is now official, and let's get to the Twin Spires payoffs here. The official prices now for the marathon. That was a fast official. You can see it's 327. This double of 1 and 3 paid $37.60. It was number 5 Noble Nick for fourth, rounding out that superfecta. There's a nice look at the pick 5, and back with more after these messages.
Feel the excitement with TwinSpires.com, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby and Breeders' Cup. With TwinSpires.com, place legal wagers and watch live horse racing wherever you are on any device. Sign up, play, and win today. New players use promo code FREE100 on sign up to start your $100 bonus. With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Breeders' Cup. Get the TwinSpires.com app to receive special offers and the most up-to-date information. Terms and conditions apply. Void where prohibited. Please wager responsibly.
And Spectacular Bid is going to win the 105th running of the Kentucky Derby. But here comes Secretariat. He's moving fast, and he's going to the outside. He's going for the lead, and it's right now he's looking for it.
American Pharoah is finally the one! American Pharoah has won the Triple Crown!
And about to enter the Maker's Mark winner circle is a Keeneland grad, Destin, a colt by Giants Causeway, $400,000 Keeneland September yearling he was. Out of the Good Damn Dream of Summer, she herself was a Grade 1 winner, and so this a Grade 2 race here. And that's a look at him. He is about to enter the Maker's Mark winner circle.
Destin has been very accomplished. As we mentioned, he was second in the Belmont. He got a win in Allowance Company 2 starts back at Saratoga, gets back to the winner's circle in this graded stakes race. As you mentioned, actually, interesting pedigree tidbit, full brother to Creative Cause.
Creative Cause was a very good young horse, of course. So we got a glimpse of him out here in Southern California. So Destin is now just under $1 million in terms of career earnings. This is his 5th lifetime win from 13 starts. There's a look at him posing for pictures, and now 32 minutes away from the upcoming 6th race to begin the Breeders' Cup Championship events. We'll be right back.
Field sent on their 1 3/4 journey. They all appear to come away smoothly. Arkan Nova has no early speed, has dropped back last. Sorting themselves out up front, and Infobadad now goes on at the rail to get the advantage. Destin the Grey is right up alongside with Noble Nick on the far side, and Estre Carter is a close-up fourth. It's a decent pace for 1 3/4. Then they come back to Arcanova, who's made up some headway, is racing 6 lengths off the leaders. 3 more back to Groundbreaker. Hard Aces and Dressed in Hermé contend to sit far back early. Into the turn they go now, and Joel Rosario takes Infobadad off to lead them by almost 2. Destin is right there in the 2nd spot though, and along the inside is Estre Carter. They're slowing it down up front now. Noble Nick is getting closer on the far side, slowing it right down. They're all concertinaing together now. On the inside is Arca Nova. Up alongside of him comes Ground Rules, and then Hard Aces and Dressed in Hermé. So there's now only 6-7 lengths covering the lot as they come through the stretch first time round. And it's in Fobadad, drifted way off the rail, but still in front. Destine, the first of the greys, right there, second. Estre Carter's at the rail. Here's the other grey, Noble Nick in the fourth spot, just 3 lengths off these leaders. Down at the rail, Ground Rules has been able to make up ground because of the slow pace. In behind that comes Hard Aces, who's now only given them 5 lengths start. At the rail, Arcanova and Dressed in Hermé is last. 7 lengths would cover the lot, half the journey covered now, and in Fobadad still shows the way by a length. Destine on the far side, and Estracada scrapes paint on the inside as Ground Rules. Ground Rules now makes a bit of headway, makes it 3 in a line for second. Then comes Noble Nick in the 5th position. Hard Aces hasn't been asked, are still 6 off the leaders. Back to Arcanova, who is being asked, and Dressed in Hermé is last. They make their way to the half-mile pole, and in Fobadad is still the leader. Now here's Ground Rules kicking through on the inside. Ground Rules turns the pressure on. Destine is travelling nicely on the far side. Destine now goes back to second. Then it's Noble Nick between runners Estre Carter. Only 3 lengths separate them. And let's see, Hard Aces has asked for a run. And Hard Aces starts to make headway. How quick is it? Hard Aces is picking them off one by one. Hard Aces all the way up to third. Coming to the top of the lane, it's a matter of stamina now. In Fobadad the leader, Destine the danger. Hard Aces made that run, but looks like he's flattening out in the 3rd spot. They're at the top of the lane in Fobadad, drifts out again, but he's hanging on. Destine, oh, they're brushing each other with 1/8 of a mile to go, but Destine is still being handwritten by Johnny Velasquez, and it's Destine in front. In Fobadad runs a big one down at the rail, but Destine has the advantage, and Destine and John Velasquez have won today's marathon stakes from in Fobadad. Hard Aces had to settle for third, then Noble Nick, Estre Carter, Ground Rules, Arcanova and Dressed in Hermé.
Can you hear it? It's the sound of excitement. Something we infuse into every grape that goes into our exceptional full-bodied wine. That was closer than I thought it would be. Now, if you'll excuse me. 14 hands, where great times are made.
First Samurai. A multiple graded stakes winning son of Giants Causeway, First Samurai boasts 3 Grade 1 winners from his first 3 crops, including Claiborne Farm stallion Lee. This year, his talented daughter, Miss Sky Warrior, reeled off powerful victories in 4 consecutive graded stakes, including the Grade 2 Devona Dale and Gazelle Stakes. First Samurai at Claiborne Farm.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
With 35 years at the forefront of sports technology, Stats provides next-generation sports content for basketball, baseball, football, soccer. And now, Stats is turning its sights to horse racing. RaceLens is the most in-depth product on the market. With innovative analytics powered by data from Equibase, it will change the way you follow horse racing. Stats RaceLens, bringing clarity to handicapping. Learn more at stats.com/RaceLens.
Into the final furlong of the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, and Classic Empire wins it in style.
Here's the winner, Classic Empire. He's a champion 2-year-old.
Here's the champ, Classic Empire. Classic Empire.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Del Mar for the 34th running of the Breeders' Cup World Championships. This 2-day world-class competition is made possible through the support of Breeders' Cup nominators, participating horsemen and corporate partners, including top-level partners Longines, 14 Hands Winery, Las Vegas, Sentient Jet, TwinSpires.com, Adequan, Harrah's Resort Southern California, and John Deere. On behalf of the Breeders' Cup and its fans, we thank the thoroughbred industry and sponsor partners for their loyal support. At this time, we ask you to please direct your attention to the video boards for a special video from San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulkner.
Hello, I'm San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulkner, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the 2017 Breeders' Cup World Championships being held here at Del Mar Racetrack for the very first time. You know, since Bing Crosby opened the gates, Del Mar has hosted many celebrities, both horse and human, From Seabiscuit to Zenyatta, many champions have raced at this historic track. You are going to see the best in the world compete in the Breeders' Cup races this weekend. And you have come from near and far to this picturesque venue where the turf meets the surf. The San Diego area welcomes each and every one of you with its world-renowned restaurants, beaches, and countless popular attractions, not to mention our perfect weather. So enjoy the energy, the excitement, everything our wonderful city has to offer. And I hope you have a great time this weekend at what will surely be the first of many Breeders' Cup World Championships to be held here in the San Diego region.
At this time, we ask you to all please rise for the presentation of our national colours and remain standing for our national anthem. Our colours are being presented today by the USS Macon Island Colour Guard. And now, to sing our national anthem, please welcome the hallmark of military tradition and musical excellence in San Diego since the band's establishment in 1923, the Navy Band Southwest. That concludes the opening ceremonies for the 2017 Breeders' Cup World Championships. Get ready for an action-packed day of championship racing, and good luck.
It's about time to begin the championship events here on this Friday, November 3rd, and our sixth race is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Grade 1, $1 million, mile on turf. There's a look at the live shot of the paddock and the current odds. Number 2, happily right now, is the 2-to-1 choice. I'm back here with Acacia Courtney at Gulfstream Park, and let's bring in Ollie. My goodness, we have not needed you more ever before than now. We need your expertise here to sort out these European horses. Nice to meet you, thank you, and we're glad that you're here, so welcome.
John, it's a privilege to be here for the 2017 Breeders' Cup Championships. Looking forward to the action getting underway, and thank you for your kind words. I do think the Euros have a strong hand in this race, and so hopefully for the European challenges anyway, we can get the Breeders' Cup off to a flying start.
So the bettors have made number 2 happily the current 2-to-1 choice. She's one of many first-time Lasix users in this race, so that's not any kind of an edge, but I know you feel as though on what she's shown with her credentials overseas, she's the major player in here.
When you look at her form compared to the other European horses in the race, in my opinion, it is streets ahead of what the others are bringing into the contest today. She's won her last 2 starts, both in Group Grade 1 company. Last time out in France on Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe weekend, she was exceptional. It was soft ground. She took a while to pick up, but she's a versatile horse. I don't think the quicker conditions will hinder her in any way. She's got a very good draw in stall 2. She's got one of the best riders in the world in Ryan Moore on board, and she's trained by a genius, Aidan O'Brien, who's already trained 26 Group 1 winners in 2017. She ticks an awful lot of boxes.
So she is the 2-to-1 favorite right now for this big field of 14. Acacia, 1.7 million right now for this pick 4 pool. Obviously massive. And what do you think here about some of the others? 7-2 and 4-1 on the 11 and 10 as we continue to get a shot there of the 2-to-1 favorite happily.
Well,
Hey, we're using every single stall. Side boards at the end. Remember, we got 14 of this one, guys. We're using the outdoor stalls. Using the side boards at the end. Side board right here? Yeah, we're using every stall. Small boards on the end there, Bob. Side boards. Small boards on that end. Hold on, hey, hold on. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Keep going. Keep boarding, Tabla. Vale, good. guys. You guys are good. All right. Good job.
Take all the boys back there then.
Good job, guys. Good job. Okay. You got it, Lake.
All right, you haven't done this in a while.
Yep, go ahead. We're done. We almost had that ready for whatever horse we almost had. My man Speed? The main man. Really? I remember that. I was there too. I remember that. That big line was all washed out. He ran. Remember, he ran. There they go. Fucking 5 and 5. Yeah. Way. They started out playing she's been looking since he's been out of the top. Try it again. Yeah. Nothing bad. I got out there. Try it again. Yeah. Try it again, Nicole. Nicole, try it again. Got it, good. Amber. What's happening? help, let me know, okay? I got you.
Really nothing remarkable to see from that.
No, it was a good effort from the winner rushing forward. As I say, I think obviously she hasn't been able to win the big one today, but I think when you look at how the race unfolded, you look at the sectionals there, September's run has to be upgraded. That was a big effort.
So the race is official. Here's a look at the Twin Spires prices for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. And that concludes a pick 4, paid $3.16 and change, 10-cent superfecta and the rest. And there is Rushing Fall there with the interview coming back for the Gallop Out. And we will be right back with a lot more.
Golden Sense to catch it. Here comes Palace Malice. And Palace Malice goes bounding to the front. Palace Malice, magnificent once again.
Palace Malice, standing at 3 Chimneys.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Best Performance broke smoothly along the inside, but now it's Ultima D going up to lead them. Here comes Juliet Capulet and Frankie Dettori to take over. Moon Dash Extreme outside. Just in alongside of those two now, we have Dixie Moon, who both fought well, but now has dropped back into mid-pack. Inside of her comes Rushing Fall, 5 off them. Madeline is in that group as well. Then we drop back to Kapler, Temptress in the red cap, a good 8 lengths off the leaders. Fatal Beer is on the far side, and here's Happily now. The favorite Happily's far back in the field, third last in fact, gives them about 9 lengths start. In behind that now you're talking, and September is the early trailer. Down the backstretch they go at a sensible pace. It's Moon Dash in front, not flying on the lead though. Juliet Capulet is right there in the second spot, and Ultima D is third. Down at the rail we have Orbelution, only 2 lengths off the leaders, just biding her time. Madeline is right there in the gold colors as well. On the far side, Rushing Fall, and now Rushing Fall moves into contention. Significant Form is on the move on the far side, and let's see, Happily down at the rail, going to need somewhere to go. Fatal Beer's hooked about 8 wide, but Fatal Beer's coming home gamely. It's a wild run for home here. Fatal Beer on the outside, alongside Rushing Fall. Rushing Fall now getting the lead. Significant Form on the inside. A late run down the center from September as well. Rushing Fall's going to take it. Best Performance late. Rushing Fall wins. Rushing Fall, Best Performance, September finished third, and then it looked like Significant Form in fourth.
of a filly we're looking at here because they're so lightly raced. New Money Honey won this race last year, and she was impressive. You know, she had a big future, and she's a very good filly. This feels different, a very special filly in a primetime performance by Rushing Fall in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. For the trophy presentation, we go down to Jay Prittman. Jay.
The first of our Breeders' Cup races for Del Mar is in the books, but from some familiar faces from years past, and a familiar face to those of us locally, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer, to present the trophy to Bob Edwards of E5 Racing. Mayor?
Congratulations on a great race, our first Breeders' Cup champion, Del Mar. Well done, my friend.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. Bob Edwards. Bob Edwards, you're a newcomer to this game, but you've already won this race 2 times in a row. Is it just that easy?
Well, it doesn't make me that new then, does it? You know what it is? It's all teamwork. Mike Ryan grabs my horses. They go to Ian Brennan and the team at Stone Street. They go to Chad and Javier. It's a magical combination for us.
And Chad, step in here if you would, please. This is your 4th win in this race. Congratulations. What has made this filly come so far so fast?
Well, first of all, they found us a nice filly to work with. She was broken trained at Stone Street down in Ocala, do a fabulous job. They sent her in so far ahead of the others. And then from there, my great staff just worked with her. I mean, I ran her at Keeneland. I left her there with one of my assistants, Jose Hernandez. I didn't even see her for 3 weeks. And that's what good staff I have and how much I trust them. Without a team, you can't do it.
Well, it's a good team that put together this win. Congratulations to you. Bob, congratulations to you and Javier Castellano. And most of all, Rushing Fall, the winner of our first Breeders' Cup race this weekend.
Into the final furlong of the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, and Classic Empire wins it in style.
Here's the Meyer, Classic Empire. He's a champion 2-year-old.
Here's the champ, Classic Empire! Classic Empire!
Feel the excitement with TwinSpires.com, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby and Breeders' Cup. With TwinSpires.com, place legal wagers and watch live horse racing wherever you are on any device. Sign up, play, and win today. New players use promo code FREE100 on sign up to start your $100 bonus. With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Breeders' Cup. Get the TwinSpires.com app to receive special offers and the most up-to-date information. Terms and conditions apply. Void where prohibited. Please wager responsibly.
At Calumet Farm, we know it takes time to make history. For over 90 years, Calumet has bred champions with bloodlines that excel on dirt and turf.
It is citation by 2.
Claiming 2 Triple Crown winners and a record 8 Kentucky Derby winners.
Oh, there's your Kentucky Derby.
The time-honored traditions of our past set the high standards for our future. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
An actual review of Funner, California. Dubbed over a kung fu movie.
The rooms there are the best.
I fell in love with the hot tub and spent hours floating.
Awesome! At night, they have live bands while you swim.
The beds are so comfortable. It's paradise.
Funner, California.
This is great for the game.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
with some more of our Breeders' Cup sponsors. I'm happy to be joined by Amy Riley, Senior Director of Business Sales for the Las Vegas Convention Authority. Did I get that right? You did. Okay, fantastic. And Amy, tell us a little bit about some of the entertainment opportunities in Las Vegas.
So many exciting things happening in Vegas right now. In 2016, we welcomed 42.3 million visitors to the destination. And you know, they come because of all the exciting things that we have. Of course, our casinos, our hotels. We have over 150,000 guest rooms now, our dining opportunities, and of course, entertainment. Some of our current and forthcoming entertainers, we have U2, Lady Gaga, we have Cher, just someone for everyone.
Now, Las Vegas has long been considered the popular spot for hosting sporting events. Can you tell us about some of the biggest, latest developments?
So many developments happening right now. The Las Vegas Golden Knights just had their inaugural season. They are 8-4 right now, and you know, they're bringing such an energy and level of excitement to Las Vegas, not only for our visitors, but also for the community itself.
Las Vegas is also a culinary mecca. Can you give us some recommendations? How do we best experience it?
You know, our chefs are just so committed, and they keep reinventing and reinvesting in Las Vegas. So everyone from Giada to Bobby Flay, of course, to Joel Robuchon. So you can come back to Vegas many, many times and still have a new experience, even at the same chef's restaurant.
Amy, thank you so much. Enjoy the Breeders' Cup.
Thank you.
For a very special rendition of Del Mar's signature anthem, Where the Turf Meets the Surf, let's welcome rock icon and member of the Songwriters Hall of Fame, Richie Sambora.
Down at old Del Mar, take a plane, take a train, take a car. Yeah, there's a smile on every face, and a winner in each race. Where the turf meets the surf at Del Mar. Take a plane, take a train, take a car. Yeah, there's a smile on every face, and a winner in each race, where the turf meets the surf at Del Mar. Cool as ever.
Las Vegas Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile is presented by visitlasvegas.com, bred to be the most exciting sight on earth.
Incredible performance there from Richie Sambora as we turn our attention to the Las Vegas Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And we are 16 minutes out. I am your host, Gabby Gaudette, joined by Joe Christofek with Churchill Downs and TwinSpires.com. Also welcoming in Brad Free with the Daily Racing Form. Gentlemen, how has your Breeders' Cup afternoon been so far?
It's gone super so far. We saw a very exciting filly by the name of Rushing Fall score a devastating win in the Juvenile Fillies Turf a few minutes ago. We heard Richie Sambora saying where the turf meets the surf. I don't know if it can get any better than what we've seen so far.
Well, how's your bankroll?
Well, my bankroll is intact, but it's taken a little bit of a hit. But we're just getting started. I mean, some of the better prices, I think, are moving forward.
Including potentially, Gabby, in this race, the Dirt Mile. 2-1 favorite, More Spirit, but you can make a case literally for 7 or 8 of these, I think.
I thought that this was one of the most challenging betting races, really, of any of the Breeders' Cup races. You have so many avenues to go down, and I think really the hub of this race, too, is what is the pace scenario going to look like?
Well, how fast is Sharp Azteca going to go up on the front end? He is the key to the race. Whether you like him or hate him or somewhere in the middle, you have to recognize the fact that Sharp Azteca is going to set the pace, and depending on how fast or slow he goes, he can dictate the tempo over a racing surface that is a little bit on the quick side. I don't think it is as speed biased as it may have been on Wednesday and Thursday. We've only had 2 dirt routes so far. Both of them were won by forwardly placed runners. I didn't count the marathon in that. But Sharp Azteca is the key. If he gets out there, cruises, he could very easily be gone. I'm not so sure that East Coast form necessarily has to transfer to a Del Mar racetrack that definitely has some idiosyncrasies.
Well, what's he going to do, though, Joe, in your opinion, when maybe he's going to have to quicken up the pace with the likes of More Spirit? It was kind of a similar case when they contested against each other in the Met Mile.
A little bit of a different scenario, obviously, with the 1-turn mile at Belmont and the Met Mile than this 2-turn race, and Sharp Azteca has recency on his side where we haven't seen More Spirit since. Bob Baffert said the horse wasn't doing well at Del Mar this summer. He freshened him up. Well documented about his gate workouts recently. He's not a great workhorse to begin with, but has been a little bit dull maybe in the mornings. So it'll be interesting to see how much speed he shows out of the gate. Sharp Azteca is going to try one strategy with Paco Lopez aboard. Try to run them off their feet.
And Brad, going back to the Met Mile as well, I mean, you have to consider that Sharp Azteca, that was his first race off of the layoff from Maidan, whereas More Spirit, he at least had 1 race underneath of his belt.
Well, back in springtime when More Spirit delivered one of the most impressive dirt performances we saw all year, he was a horse that had current form on his side. He had already won a couple of minor races, and he went back to New York filled with confidence, and he devastated the field. Now we're 5 months down the line with some relatively murky workout situation with regards to More Spirit. He's a lazy horse in the morning. Baffert said that he didn't train well at Del Mar in summer. I wonder what the reason was. Was it either A, he doesn't like the surface, or B, and that's where I'm leaning, I think he may have been feeling the effects of a 117 Beyer speed figure that he earned in the Met Mile. He got a -7 on Thoroughgraph sheets. That is an unbelievably fast race. When horses run that fast, they often require, in this case, maybe 5 months to take over.
Very interesting stuff there, Brad. And I would have to agree with you, but this race isn't just between 2 horses. We have some very talented 3-year-olds in the picture as well. We have the likes of Accelerate, too. Where do you think Accelerate kind of fits into the grand scheme of things in terms of the pace as well?
This is a race with really good 1-turn horses and 2-turn horses that have been going a little bit further. that are cutting back a little bit in distance. Accelerate, blinkers on, won the San Diego, good third in the Pacific Classic, natural speed. He's going to keep the front runners within his crosshairs every step of the way. Keeneland Sales graduate, one of 66 of those this Breeders' Cup weekend. So I think he's going to be right there. He's 7-2 and the co-second choice right now.
This post parade is brought to you by the Daily Racing Form. And we're taking a look at the horses making their way onto the track. And of course, the field is led by the one Iron Fist for trainer Steve Asmussen, hoping to get things off to a good start, I would say, before the Classic tomorrow.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brent.
No, I was going to say Asmussen had a pretty good horse finish second in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile 1 year ago. He's since elevated his game. I'm referring to Gun Runner. Iron Fist is a kind of an under-the-radar type of horse. He cost $1.5 million as a yearling. He's well-bred. He's in the best form of his career. I think he has a shot.
And that is a look at the one Iron Fist with Ricardo Santana in the saddle, coming off of a fantastic Keeneland meet.
Giant Expectations is the 2. Big win in the Pat O'Brien, 2 starts back. Dull 5th in the Sprint Challenge last out, but may have woken up on the wrong side of the hay that day.
Number 3 is Sharp Azteca. He is the key to the race because he will set the pace. I'm curious to see how warm he gets in the post parade. He's been getting a little bit hot in the mornings out here at Del Mar. He will take this field as far as he can.
And next up will be the 4, Gato del Oro. He is holding odds at 60-1 right now, a long shot, and the blinkers do come off of this runner, but previously kind of a pace factor.
Awesome Slew is the 5. He's a 1-turn horse now, but he used to be a 2-turn horse. He's faced the likes of Mind Your Biscuit and Dreyfong. He defeated the player in the ACAC at Churchill Downs going a 1-turn mile. Last him out. He may love this trip.
Number 6 is More Spirit. He's the favorite right now at 2-1. His win in the Met Mile was outstanding. He has already defeated Sharp Azteca, Iron Fist, and Accelerate. He should be positioned closest to Sharp Azteca.
And the number 7, Cupid, another one for trainer Bob Baffert. He's 1 for 1 here at Del Mar, and he comes into this race with pretty impressive form as well.
Accelerate loves Del Mar. He is 3 for 4 on this main track with a 3rd. His highest ever speed figure was earned on this racetrack. I think he's gotten a little bit better since he added blinkers 2 starts back. One could say that he's in the best form of his career.
Here's another horse that likes Del Mar. Battle of Midway, 2 starts back. He earned a 101 Beyer speed figure, winning a little stake race for 3-year-olds by more than 6 lengths. He finished 3rd in the Kentucky Derby early this year. He comes off a better-than-looked runner-up finish in the Oklahoma Derby at Remington Park. He got banged around pretty good on the first turn.
And the number 10, Practical Joke, does round out the field right now at 5-1 for Chad Brown, hoping to get back-to-back victories on this Breeders' Cup Day card. We'll see how it all shakes out. But, guys, we'll get back to the discussion with the 8 Accelerate. And interestingly enough, John Sadler kind of giving him a gait workout, wanting to maybe fine-tune him a little bit, maybe to get him out of the gate quicker.
I think he's looking for a little bit more speed from Accelerate, who has not started since the middle of August. And I think that gate work was designed to maybe wake him up a little bit, put a nice little zippy work so that he will be forwardly placed. And that's where he figures to be, right behind the likes of More Spirit and Sharp Azteca. Accelerate, if he does win, it would be a long time coming for trainer John Sadler. He's 0 for 39 in the Breeders' Cup, but he has 2 good ones today, starting off with Accelerate in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
And More Spirit is your current 2-1 favorite. He did accomplish the highest last out Beyer speed figure of 117. Gentlemen, you don't see that very often.
No,
he's a horse
Brad,
in fine form.
Yeah, he mentioned it earlier. That's a big number, so it might have taken a little bit out of him. He's coming back fresh. We know what he can do when he's on his A game. He's been successful around 2 turns in the past. If you put everybody's A game out there here in this particular race today, he is the horse to beat, but will he bring his A game? That's what the bettors have to decide.
Brad, this does kick off the late pick 4 in terms of strategy and ticket building. What do you do with a race like this, and what do you do with the sequence?
Well, I would go too deep in this race, using the horse that I think is Well, that guy right there, he's on the screen, number 8, Accelerate. I think that John Sadler has done a magnificent job with this 4-year-old. Put blinkers on him 2 starts back. I think he's the horse to beat. I also like Battle of Midway at a price, so I would go 8 and 9 in the very first leg. As far as the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, I am virtually clueless. It's a race that is typically dominated by Europeans. I would use all 5 Europeans, 1, 3, 6, 7, 14, and US-based Snapper Sinclair. In the Breeders' Cup Distaff, race number 9, I would use the 3 favorites, Stellar Wind, Elate, and the horse to catch, Paradise Woods. I would be you talked about the pick 4, right? I would be singling out to race number 10. I love the comebacker, So Sweet It Is, in the grade 3 Senator Ken Matty. She hasn't started in a long time. She's training well for a good trainer, Marty Jones. So I'm going to try to get live to So Sweet It Is in race number 10, using a couple of prices here, Accelerate and Battle of Midway.
Well, we have many more contenders to discuss, but for more on this field, we'll check in with Michelle Yu.
Costa Hirona is going to have an exciting couple hours here at the Breeders' Cup. Costa, with Accelerate and with Stellar Wind, what do you think the biggest hurdles they're going to have to overcome to win today are going to be?
You know, Accelerate, he's at the 8 spot, so just getting around that first turn, it's really important here because of the narrow turn. So he just needs to get a good break and Victor get out and adjust to the speed. He's got a good post so he can see what everybody else is doing. Stellar's on the inside, but like Victor said, he's got 1 mile and an eighth to work out a trip, so he'll try to work out a trip.
What's the confidence level like right now coming in with a big home court advantage for both horses?
Yeah, they both love this track, and this track's a little tricky. Some horses don't like it, and we're very fortunate, very blessed. We got 2 horses that love this track, so let's hope for a home field advantage.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Guys?
I'm Acacia Courtney in the paddock, and I did catch up with trainer Jorge Navarro, who has the number 3 Sharp Azteca. I interviewed him back at Gulfstream when he ran in the Gulfstream Park Handicap. Sharp Azteca won that back in February. He told me that day that he didn't like this horse to be alone on the front end. He wanted him to have some company. I asked him if that was still the case today, and he said since Paco Lopez has been riding, he's been a different horse. He said it doesn't really matter where he is, he's going to be fine. He thought that the number 4 Gato del Oro and the 6 More Spirit might be forwardly placed as well, but what he was mainly concerned about was that the 3 Sharp Azteca don't get stuck along the rail. He wants to get out of the gate early. Paco agreed with this. He said he's planning to send, yes, but it doesn't matter if they have company or if he is alone on the front end. As far as his nerves, he has gotten hot a little bit training or maybe been a bit distracted. I thought he was very well behaved saddling, but we'll keep an eye on him on the track as they start warming up before the Las Vegas Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
Thank you very much, Acacia. And yes, that's kind of been an issue with Sharp Azteca throughout his career. I remember when he was in the paddock for the Kelso, Jorge Navarro kind of mentioning that this horse has given him a heart attack on several occasions just because he is a bit of a bad actor. But Joe, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the 9 Battle of Midway as well, and this is an interesting race for some of these 3-year-olds who are getting those 2 turns.
And Brad mentioned value. Battle of Midway 15-1 I think is value. You see stats, true odds, world's leading sports data company, and that's what you're looking for. What are the true odds? What are the odds that you would bet a horse at? You have to decide for yourself, but they give you a little bit of help. You can download that at equibase.com, stats, true odds. I agree with Brad, 15-1 on Battle of Midway. He really ran well here in the Shared Belief. Stalk and Pounce, dominating victory, trouble in the Oklahoma Derby. You're getting some value with Awesome Slew as well. 16-1. This horse beat the Player, who came back and won the Fayette. Faced Dreyfong and Mind Your Biscuits in the races prior to that. Ran second to both of them. And I don't think he's going to mind going 2 turns. It's all going to depend on how the pace develops.
And Brad, you liked Battle of Midway a little bit as well, didn't you?
I do. I like him quite a bit. He's run well over the main track here at Del Mar. In fact, that was the best race of his career. His most recent start, it looks kind of nondescript. A grade 3 at Remington Park, and he got beat at 7-5. But watching the tape of the race, he got banged around viciously on the first turn, enough that a lesser horse might just chuck it and say, not today. Battle of Midway, after encountering that trouble, he re-rallied into the race. He actually made the lead at the 8th pole, and then he got swallowed up late by Untrapped. It was a better than looked runner-up finish and the perfect bridge between his race at Del Mar in summer and his comeback to Del Mar right here in fall at a big fat 15-1.
I could not disagree at all with you. I agree with everything you said. He got in tight on that first turn at Remington. You saw him swishing his tail. He was not happy. A lot of times when that happens, Brad, horses quit. He came on again, took the lead, and just gave it up late, like you said.
But here's the deal. Battle of Midway, although he was impressive 2 starts back, he defeated Gato del Oro, who is 60-1 in here. So isn't it a bit of a class test as well when you're talking about horses like Accelerate, who have faced the best in the Classic division?
No doubt about it. It's a huge class test. But you could also say the same thing about More Spirit. If you just draw a line through his Met Mile and look at his form before that race, he was a grade 2 caliber horse with one giant effort in the Met Mile. So sometimes these lightly raced 3-year-olds, lightly raced horses in general, they can get good, and when they start going up the ladder, there's no telling how good they can get.
Well, another question, obviously, Practical Joke. He was on the Derby Trail earlier this year, and Chad Brown from the get-go has always said, you know what, this is a very talented horse. We're going to run him through the Triple Crown campaign, and we'll see what happens. But ultimately, I do think he's a better one-turn horse. What do you do with him at Battle of Midway, battling down the stretch with Sharp Azteca. What a finish this was.
The third 3-year-old to win this race. Golden Sense did it twice. Caleb's Posse did it as well. And Brad, he was hung out to dry. He was wide, but he came off the turn. He was still in hand. We knew he had a good chance. I thought he was going to blow by Sharp Azteca, but Sharp Azteca really dug deep.
Sharp Azteca showed me a lot in defeat. That's a tough son of a gun to get past. But Battle of Midway and jockey Flavian Pratt on the outside, they had all the momentum, and they needed the length of the lane to finally wear down a stubborn pace setter. Sharp Azteca ran a winning race. How many lengths clear of third was he? He ran super, but Battle of Midway ran even better. A good 3-year-old in top form.
He didn't look like a loser at any stage of the race. It looked like Flavien Prat just had a mitt full of horse, especially at the quarter pole.
That's the way he ran here, and I know he beat much lesser in the shared belief, but that's the way he ran. We talked about the Oklahoma Derby, how that was a better than it looks race, had him set up perfectly for this, and you know, 2-turn mile I guess is his best game. He certainly showed that today.
And he has just progressively gotten better and better this year too as a 3-year-old. But also Flavien Prat, I mean, he has been riding in fantastic form over the past year, I would say, and he's having a great day today.
3, right? I think he's got 3 wins on the day, yeah.
Yeah, Flavien Prat, one of the top young jockeys in Southern California. And how about trainer Jerry Hollendorfer? His second win in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. His Dakota Phone paid $77 in 2010 at Churchill Downs. Battle of Midway, 15-1.
Well, let's talk about some of those players, guys, that didn't quite show up. Any excuse that you could find from More Spirit in here?
No, other than that, I think he kind of ran to his workouts. He trained kind of sketchily coming in. He did not run very well. I think that Met Mile might have just absolutely cooked him.
Here are the official results of the Las Vegas Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and brought to you by Twin Spires. Battle of Midway returns $30.40. I hope you guys bet, because that was a very nice return as well. We're going to step aside for a brief moment, and when we come back, we'll dive right back into the Breeders' Cup action. The Juvenile Turf is up next.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Field for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile sent on their way. Giant Expectations a little slow to get going. Gato Del Oro hops out and sprints away early with Sharp Azteca going with him. Now here's More Spirit being sent along on the outside to get third. The pace as expected, very fast. Battle of Midway's hooked 4 wide into the turn. Iron Fist, meanwhile, settles down at the rail. Awesome Slew in the red cap is no more than 5 lengths off the leader. Accelerate being pushed along in the green colours. Racing in behind those two now at the back of the pack. Drop Jack Lasters, Giant Expectations racing awkwardly. Down the backstretch they go, and it's Sharp Azteca on the inside. Gato Del Oro's right up alongside of that. More Spirit is in the third spot. Down at the rail, Iron Fist. Battle of Midway on the far side. Cupid is the second of the greys, only 3 lengths off the leaders. And now Awesome Slew in the red cap, looking strong at the rail. Awesome Slew just going to wait for room. Then we come back to Accelerate, who's having to be sent along. Practical Joke is on the move. Practical Joke now just needs somewhere to run as well. Giant Expectations never got involved. They come into the top of the lane. Sharp Azteca up alongside Gato Del Oro on the far side. Battle of Midway. Awesome Slew now finds room at the rail in the red cap and chases after them as well. Top of the lane. Battle of Midway on the outside. Battle of Midway. Sharp Azteca. Awesome Slew trying to run on at the rail. On the outside, Practical Joke with a late run, but it is Battle of Midway in front. Battle of Midway battling back. Sharp Azteca, what a thriller. Battle of Midway going to get there. Battle of Midway and a thriller. Battle of Midway, what an attack. Sharp Azteca a very game second. Then Awesome Slew, Practical Joke and Iron Fist behind that. Giant Expectations. Back to Gato del Sol. The favourite More Spirit just didn't fire today, and Accelerate was last.
It was all guts and determination in the Las Vegas Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile for Battle of Midway, and to present the trophy to very jubilant connections, I'm sure, Amy Riley, the Senior Director of Sales for the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Amy.
Hey, congratulations on behalf of Las Vegas on an incredible race.
Kenny Trout of Windstar Farm, you purchased, along with Don Alberto's stable, Battle of Midway 2 weeks prior to the Kentucky Derby. What did you see in this young 3-year-old, knowing that he could do what he just did this afternoon?
Well, one of the main reasons why we bought the horse because we didn't have any of ours in. So, but we really liked it. Elliott Walden is the one that picked him out, and we really liked the horse and thought we had a great shot. And he ran big. He ran third, so that was great. Great feeling.
And talk to me about the stretch run here, Battle of Midway. He lived up to this name, really throwing down today.
Yes, I mean, it was, my heart was just pounding. I mean, my whole group, everybody was just screaming, you know, come on, hold on, battle it out. And I tell you what, he's been that way. He's been a fighter, and he fought on. I mean, he was run wide all the way, most of the way to come on, and he just fought it out. He's a horse. He's a racehorse now.
That he is, and he proved it this afternoon. Congratulations to you all. Battle of Midway taking down the Las Vegas Dirt Mile. They're cool, calm, and collected right now, but I'm sure that's not what it was like during the stretch run.
So much enthusiasm winning one of these Breeders' Cup events, and look at Flavien Prat. Such a big...
Liam's Map. This two-time Grade 1 winner posted 6 consecutive 100-plus buyer figures, including a 1:14 in the Grade 1 Woodward Stakes, the fastest winning time in more than a decade. An $800,000 yearling, he never finished off the board in 8 starts, winning 6. In his final race, this great colt set the track records at Keeneland in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. All this adds up to a world-class stallion at a world-class stallion farm.
Feel the excitement with TwinSpires.com, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby and Breeders' Cup. With TwinSpires.com, place legal wagers and watch live horse racing wherever you are on any device. Sign up, play, and win today. New players use promo code FREE100 on sign up to start your $100 bonus. With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Breeders' Cup. Get the TwinSpires.com app to receive special offers and the most up-to-date information. Terms and conditions apply. Void where prohibited. Please wager responsibly.
Here with Karen Dexter with 14 Hands Winery, one of the official sponsors of Breeders' Cup. And it's an exciting weekend, Karen. But talk a little bit about 14 Hands Winery and where the name come from.
Well, the name 14 Hands Winery was actually inspired by these horses that used to run wild in eastern Washington. They measured about 14 hands, and they were very strong, tenacious, powerful horses. And so the vineyards in eastern Washington have those same characteristics. And they produce these amazing grapes that also produce the amazing wine that we call 14 Hands.
And obviously a wonderful company, but what kind of makes 14 Hands Winery stand out from the competition?
Well, I think it's the wines, right? So we have these powerful fruit-forward red wines, and then we have these nice crisp white wines that have really nice acidity. And for me, it's kind of the best of both worlds. They pair really nicely with food, but you can also just enjoy sipping them. You can sit on your patio and have a glass of wine, or just enjoy a glass today at the races.
That sounds lovely indeed. And where can viewers go to find out more information?
Well, you can come visit us in Prosser, Washington, which is at the base of Horse Heaven Hills Appalachian. But if you can't make it up there, then you can always find us at 14 Hands Winery, or follow us on Instagram or Facebook.
Excellent stuff. Well, thank you for joining me, and have a lovely Breeders' Cup weekend.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're 25 minutes out from the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, as we have seen some very exciting performances here and some nice payoffs, as well as Battle of Midway returning a big prize in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. But we head to the turf. I'm your host, Gabby Gaudette, joined once again by Joe Christofek with Churchill Downs and TwinSpires.com, and welcoming in Ollie Bell, of course, our international flavor, as well as we will definitely need you for this race, Ollie.
Well, thank you. Hopefully the Europeans can get on the board. There's a look at Pat, the groom at Ballydor, who's leading in, I think, the top one. That's Mendelssohn, who is currently the 7-2 market leader. There is Mendelssohn. Good run in a Group 1 Dewhurst at Newmarket last start. So in terms of achievements on the track regarding the Europeans, he sets a pretty good standard. But to be honest with you, I think there might be a bit of value elsewhere. I'd look against the favourite in this race. I think the Europeans have got a strong team here. The likes of James Garfield, horse number 7's a player. But ultimately, in terms of the achievements to date, then the horse in shot, Mendelssohn, that you can see there, is probably the one they have to beat.
I want to ask you about Mendelssohn. That race he comes out of, very, very fast time, particularly for a 2-year-old, won by U.S. Navy flag. Mendelssohn's a half to Into Mischief and Beholder. U.S. Navy flag is in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, the dirt race. Yeah. This is the turf race. You would think that maybe they would flip-flop roles. Why do you think Aidan O'Brien decided to go this direction?
Joe, I'll be completely honest with you. I have no idea, but I'm not a man to argue with a man who's won 26 Group 1s in 2017. Looking at it, as you say, you make a very good case as to why perhaps it might have been the other way around. But US Navy flag is a horse who's had, I think, about 11 or 12 starts this year, and he's improved with every run. I think his constitution and his toughness will stand him in very good stead on the dirt. I think he will run well. I don't know whether US Navy flag will win, but Mendelssohn perhaps a horse who's better suited to the vagaries of a turf race here at Del Mar.
The juvenile's $2 million. This race is $1 million. Maybe if he can take down both of them, stronger hand maybe with US Navy flag, who's been so good lately. Maybe that's the reason.
Absolutely. I mean, Aidan O'Brien, as we know, and the team at Ballydor, they leave no stone unturned, and they'll know exactly what their horse wants, which is the right race for their horse. And I'm sure they will, if not in this race, I'm sure they will be proved correct with some of the choices they've made throughout the course of the 2 days coming up. But as I say, look, Mendelssohn's run in the Dewhurst, that race that you're alluding to, which wasn't a quick time, behind US Navy flag, it was good. The Dewhurst is traditionally one of the best 2-year-old races run in Europe. I'm not sure how strong a renewal of the race it was for all that it was run in a quick time.
Well, for more information on some of these international runners, we'll check in the paddock with Vanny Salmon.
Yes, we heard you ask the question, Joe, why is this horse, half-brother to Beholder, doing on the turf? Well, we asked Aiden the question, and he did say he felt it would be really unfair to Mendelssohn to throw him on the dirt against some of the most seasoned 2-year-olds in America when he's still very inexperienced. He was very green early on. Even when he won his first race, his second time out, he was extremely green at the time. Now, you will see him with blinkers. This equipment was added recently in works, actually, in training, before his last start. And as Aiden said, he grew a new leg when we had it on him. And that's high range for the equipment changed him a world of wonders. He's drawn one, which is really good. The question mark is, how can he take those turns?
Well, there you go, Fanny mentioning that pretty much the reason why U.S. Navy Flag opted for the juvenile is because he's got more of a foundation underneath of him, and maybe Mendelssohn has a little bit of learning to do, to be honest. Well, we'll check in with some of these other horses, and still kind of talking about the Europeans. And the 7, James Garfield, comes out of a Group 2 win last time out, Ollie.
Yeah, and George Scott, the trainer, you can see him there on the left putting the saddle on James Garfield. He's hoping to make a bit of history here at the Breeders' Cup. If he was to win this race, he'll be the youngest British trainer to win a Breeders' Cup championship race, and I think he's got a good chance. You can see James Garfield, he's just moving around a little bit in his saddling box. The form he brings into the race, the Mill Reef win, which was a Group 2, Grade 2 contest at Newbury, that keeps getting franked. The horses in behind keep on coming out and winning, so it's a good piece of form, that, and the horse's trajectory of improvement is steady, it's impressive, and I think there's a lot more to come from him. He's also drawn well in Stall 7. We saw Ryan's problems that he was faced with from Stall 2 on Happily in the Fillies Turf contest a few moments ago. I think 7's a perfect stall for Frankie Dettori to sit him where he wants, and as I say, I don't think this horse has stopped improving. He's a big player.
And the 4, Catholic Boy, coming out for another young trainer, so to speak, and Jonathan Thomas. He actually prepares his horses at Bridlewood Farm. He even helped with Moonshine Memories, who was running the juvenile fillies. But his background, obviously, he came up under the tutelage of several trainers, like Dale Romans, but particularly Todd Pletcher. So he definitely his niche is developing these young horses and these 2-year-olds, and that's kind of what we've seen from Catholic Boy.
Broke the maiden the first gasking, and then had a trouble trip that you don't see in the short comment in the With Anticipation. As you'll see, he takes kind of a right-hand turn here coming off of it, winds up leveling off and really exploding down the lane. This is a horse that finishes with authority. He has more to give at this point of the race. It doesn't look like stamina is going to be an issue for him. He's trained tremendously well since he's been here at Del Mar, and he's kind of sort of been the talk of the American horses in this particular race, and that's why you're seeing him half of his morning line right now, Gabby. 12-1 in the book, 6-1 currently, and making a very nice appearance in the paddock.
Yeah, he surely has been one of those buzz horses this week as he's kind of transitioned well here to Del Mar. And the thing about him, too, I know a couple of people were questioning maybe his talent going into the With Anticipation, because the question was posed, well, what really did he beat in debut? But sometimes with these 2-year-old horses, when they show so much professionalism and they show the turn of foot that he's showed, sometimes it just creates an opportunity for them to continue to move forward.
Yeah, they become their own benchmark race, so to speak.
Right.
Now everybody's going to be compared to, well, how did you run against Catholic Boy? And after only 1 or 2 races, you really don't know that until you see, more examples of how they run, how they fit in with different sorts of competition. That was a great race. He overcame adversity. I like the fact that he overcame adversity, because he's probably going to face some in this race. And, that just goes to show that the professionalism, being able to overcome the adversity, and the talent level may add up to another victory.
And another feather in the cap would be Manny Franco. I know you kind of see only 14% on the year, but he's been riding a lot of long shots at Saratoga, kind of in those deep waters, but riding really smart races over the course of the past few months. But this race at Equine is the official equine wellness partner of the Breeders' Cup World Champions here, as we'll transition back to some of the Euros here in the 6 Massar. Ollie, are you surprised to see him kind of chilling on the tote board right now at 6-1?
For me, Massar, people might look at the run last time out and see Happilly's performance a few moments ago and think this horse was beaten by Happily, and Happy's run last in the Fillies Turf contest, but Happily had no run, so put a line through that as a form line. I think the danger or the concern I have with regards to Massar is his run style. He has got the headgear on. You can see he's nice and relaxed here, which is a positive, but he is quite lazy in his races, and he does take a bit of stoking up by his riders in the past, particularly in France last time out. And I don't think he'll be afforded that luxury where he can, as he does in a European race, have a furlong to sort of get his head in the game as such. I think everything happens a lot quicker here at Del Mar, and if he tries those antics today, Massar won't be winning the race. He's got good form, but I think he'll be better suited, or he is better suited to how European mile races are run as opposed to American mile races.
And he was given a little bit of time after Ascot and then came back. Do you think that this is a horse who kind of has, though, improved in his last two starts?
Yeah, undoubtedly there's improvement in his form, but I don't think there's an improvement in his mental state.
And his demeanour.
So until they both click, I don't think Massar will be winning. And that obviously means that Massar's going to win this race.
Well, and you talk about maybe horses, lightly raced horses on a big stage like the Breeders' Cup, and what he's been coming from situations versus today. There's a big crowd, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of opportunity for horses to kind of lose themselves mentally.
I have to say, though, it's in the run. I mean, beforehand, his pre-race demeanour has always been good, and actually the shots you're seeing, or you saw of Massar there a few moments ago, in terms of his pre-race behaviour, I actually couldn't be happier with what I'm looking at. So if you are a fan of Massar, who's currently 6-1 on the board, in terms of what you're seeing from him pre-race, I wouldn't let it put you off, but just bear in mind what he does in the race. That might be the big issue with him.
And we're taking a look at the one Mendelssohn, who does draw the rail for Aidan O'Brien. We were discussing him a little bit earlier, guys, but do you think that the addition of blinkers just completely turned this horse around last time out? He was 50-1 in his last race. Was that kind of a fluke, or do you think he's going to run back to that form?
Well, as I say, if you sort of break down that Dewhurst run, it was one of those races where there was a horse in there called Expert Eye, trained by Sir Michael Stout, who was an odds-on favourite and bombed out. It was one of those sort of head-scratching races where you look at horses that you expect to win or figure that were out the back of the television, and then horses like Felix Mendelssohn, who really going into it weren't entitled to finish as close as they did. So for me, I find it a hard race to assess, and for all that, when you look at the nuts and bolts of the form, you go, well, that's a good run, second in a Grade 1, and traditionally a very good 2-year-old Grade 1 in Europe. But as I say, until I can see this horse back it up, I think he's plenty short enough in the betting.
And we saw earlier today, Ali, Brian Moore in the saddle, Happily. Do you, in terms of some of the international riders that you've seen ride over the course of the past couple of days and today, how do you think they've kind of transitioned so far?
Well, I think Ryan Moore was unfortunate on Happily in the first race because there was pace on paper and it didn't transpire that way. So I think he took back and he had a wall of horses in front of him. I think that this horse, Felix Mendelssohn, from stall 1 will be hurried forward. I think Ryan won't allow himself to be as far back this time round. So I don't think the draw will be an inconvenience to Felix Mendelssohn. I know one is actually traditionally an okay draw, but I don't think he'll have the same problems that Happily had when she ran in the Fillies race an hour or so ago.
Well, we'll talk about some of the more of the contenders in just a moment, but first we'll check in the paddock with Fanny Salmon.
Well, Charlie Appleby won the Juvenile Turf here with Outspring in 2013, and you've been saying that Massar really fits the same profile.
I feel he does, in respects he brings a good level of form from Europe. He's a Group 3 winner and Group 1 placed. The trip is not a concern at all, and I think back on a sounder surface, hopefully we'll see the horse that we thought we would see potentially in the Lagardère, but it was soft ground that day, and I just think that slowed him up a little bit.
When we were talking earlier, you said you were not too concerned about those tight turns.
Well, look, we've all got to encounter them, and I feel that he's a horse, at least he travels well, and that'll help him. It's when you're behind the 8 ball and you can't get you haven't got the speed to travel around there, but hopefully he's a good traveller, and that'll help him get round these turns.
Thank you very much, Charlie. All the best.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll ask both you, Ali, and Joe, who do you think has a stronger presence in this race, the Europeans or the North American horses?
Well, I'm going to say the Europeans.
That means I'm supposed to say the Americans.
No. Well, looking at it, and actually Joe's comments on the American horses, he's in good form, giving us the winner in the previous race. Admittedly on the dirt, this is a turf race with plenty of Europeans, but it's actually interesting to see the level of form that you think the Americans bring into the race, because in truth, I thought our fillies actually were far superior in terms of what they had achieved in Europe to the American horses, and I was proved emphatically wrong with Chad's filly winning earlier on in the card. This race, I look at it and I think the Europeans have stronger credentials. It'll be interesting to know what you think about the American runners here, Joe.
Well, the history is the Europeans have won this race 6 times, North Americans have won it 4 times. Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore have won it 3 times themselves with Hit of the Bomb, George Vancouver, and Rote. They've got obviously a strong hand here with Mendelssohn, who was well intended for this race. I do think Catholic Boy is going to run well. And of the other Americans, I think Snapper Sinclair is the one. Steve Asmussen, when he won at Kentucky Downs, looked like the cat who swallowed the canary. He was very, very happy with the performance. He said as much in the winner's circle interview after the race. I know that he loves this horse. And again, if you're looking for value, 18-1, that might be the direction I point in.
I do know as well, having spoken to trainer Simon Callahan in connections of the 9-horse Encumbered. Simon already a winner on today's card, on the undercard in the first race. But I know that they're expecting a big run from this horse, the 9-horse, who's currently paying 13-1 on the boards. Mario Gutierrez takes a ride in the Red and Silks, and this horse has done turf and dirt, but actually I think is more suited to this surface. And as I say, speaking to the trainer off camera, he's expecting a big run from Encumbered.
This post parade is brought to you by DRF, as horses are making their way onto the track for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and a competitive field at that. There's $1 million on the line for these 2-year-olds, and we'll start things off with the number 1, Mendelssohn, for trainer Aidan O'Brien. Gets Lasix for the first time today, and coming out of a second place performance behind US Flag last time out in the Group 1.
Untamed Domain was 3rd behind Catholic Boy in the with Anticipation. Winner of the Summer Stakes has been a key race moving forward throughout the 2-year-old turf season at Woodbine last out.
There's number 3, that's Sands of Marley, trained by Richard Fahey, who's got Ribchester coming up later on in the weekend. This horse won the Gym Crack, a Group 2 at York, was found out in top company in the Middle Park last time out, needs to improve to figure.
And the number 4, Catholic Boy, sent out by trainer Jonathan Thomas for owners Robert LaPenta, has done nothing wrong in his lone 2 career starts.
Number 5 is Beckford. This horse was 5th last time out, but was the 7-2 favorite against U.S. Navy Flag, only beaten a little bit more than 3 lengths. Gets Lasix here and gets an American rider in Joel Rosario. A little bit intriguing.
Number 6 is Massa. We heard from the trainer Charlie Appleby a few moments ago. His comments to Fanny probably would have filled punters with confidence. I'm not so sure that the American tight turns here at Del Mar will suit this horse, but Charlie is very confident. Interesting to see how he goes.
The number 7, James Garfield, the Irish bred here, coming out of a win in the Group 2 Mill Reef Stakes, and has fine form right now as he is appetizing odds at 7-1.
Chad Brown's already won the Juvenile Fillies Turf today. Could have the Juvenile Turf double here with number 8, Voting Control. Winner at first asking, and then came back and ran a pretty good second as the favorite in the Pilgrim at Belmont in his most recent start.
Number 9 is Encumbered. Simon Callahan's horses, the trainer, are in good form. We saw that earlier on in the programme. And Encumbered on this surface, on the turf surface, is more suited, and he is a player at a big price. He could run well at big odds.
And that's the 10, Flame Away, for trainer Mark Cassie and Jack Oxley, and will be making his turf debut today, as he did win the Win in Your Inn Bourbon Stakes last time out, but was rain off the turf.
Number 11 is Snapper Sinclair. He won his grass debut sprinting at Saratoga, won the Turf Showcase Juvenile at Kentucky Downs in impressive fashion last out, making a very nice appearance here on the racetrack for Steve Asmussen.
There's number 12, that's Hemp Hooray for trainer Wes Ward, and ultimately you have to respect all the Wes Ward juveniles. He's a master with them.
The number 13, My Boy Jack, sent out by Keith DeSormo, Kent DeSormo, in the saddle as well, came from off the pace to get the victory in the Zuma Beach.
Fields concluded with the number 14 Raja Singh. Lots going on with this horse. First North American start, first time Lasix, first time blinkers.
And the number 13, My Boy Jack, does showcase the highest Beyer speed figure, getting an 80 Beyer speed figure last time out in the Zuma Beach. And he was defeated by Encumbered 2 starts back as well. But My Boy Jack, guys, he's going to hope for maybe a quick pace in front of him today.
They both have finishing punch, and they both have the advantage of having run well over this turf course. So they're kind of used to the proceedings during the running of the race. They're both going to be finishing with authority, and I wouldn't be surprised to see either one or both of them run a big race here.
But how do you feel in terms of the California horses in this particular race versus maybe the Midwest and East Coast horses?
It's a tough comparison, right? I mean, you just saw that was the highest Beyer speed figure. How does that translate to Catholic Boy, who got a much lesser figure but looked very impressive visually, or Snapper Sinclair, who got a lesser speed figure but looked visually impressive? They've only had 2-3 starts so far. We don't know how much they have to give. We'll find out more about that today.
Well, right now, your current favorite is the one Mendelssohn, lukewarm right now at 4-1. And next to the real-time odds are True Odds, brought to you by Equibase. For more information, you can go to equibase.com. And I guess the question is, what is a fair price in a race like this when the betting is all over the board?
Interesting. According to the True Odds, Sands of Mali, who is 16-1, True Odds is 7-1. So when you're reading that graph, if you trust the True Odds that they're showing you, if a horse is True Odds 7-1, but they're 16-1, that's a horse that you might want to pay attention to. That's what value is all about.
And Ollie, what do you make of Sands of Mali? It was a disappointing performance last time out, but it wasn't like he was bet. Was that kind of a fluke type of race? Do you think that he can bounce back after the Juddmonte Middle Park?
I think his performance, the run prior in the Gimcrack, which was a Group 2 at York, during one of the big summer festivals in the UK, I think that was a really good performance, but I'm not sure how strong a renewal of the Gimcrack it was. Next time out in the Middle Park against US Navy flag, with Fleet Review in second and Card Sharp, he was found out. Ultimately, I'm not convinced it was that strong a renewal of that race either. I just don't think his form stacks up against a few of these. You look at his Group 2 win in the Gimcrack, the form has been knocked a few times. You compare that to the Group 2 win of number 7, James Garfield, in the Mill Reef at Newbury, his form keeps getting franked. So when you look at it sort of literally and in direct comparison, then the horse in shot number 3, Sands of Mali, does need to take a step forward in my book.
It's interesting that they just take the shot with him, though, maybe thinking that something could have gone awry instead of the class, I guess it was, last time out. And not to mention Flavien Prat. Well, he's looking for number 4 on today's program.
He's waved his magic wand 3 times already today, so maybe True Odds is taking his success today into consideration.
It's interesting how he got the ride for this as well, actually, because Richard Fahey, the trainer, was looking for a jockey, and Nick Luck, who's broadcasting over here, a leading broadcaster in the UK, put on Twitter, how has Flavien Prat not got a ride in this race? So Richard Fahey rang him up at 3 in the morning, American time, and said, can you book that jockey for me? So that's how Flavien's on board, and I think Nick might get a cut if he wins. So yeah, Nick Luck will be rooting for that horse.
I would say Flavien has to thank Nick Luck, especially if he performs here as well. Now, we'll go back to some of the American runners and the 2 Untamed Domain. Joe, this is a horse who, obviously, Catholic Boy beat him in the With Anticipation, but he came back to run very well in the Grade 2 Summer up at Woodbine. It was a race that Good Samaritan won last year. Obviously, he was in fine form after that race too, but in particular, the Grade 2 Summer, that pace held well, the race shape held together, and he just absolutely ran down the leaders.
That's a race that a lot of North American trainers point to, right? So it always comes up with a good field, the sister race as well. And this horse is progressive, seemed to improve with the blinkers first time out in that most recent start in the summer. He's won 2 of his last 3. If you like Catholic Boy, you kind of have to like Untamed Domain, and you get Jose Ortiz as well, who's riding in better form than him.
I think the betting paints a very clear picture as to this race, both with the European raiders and the American runners as well, because 9-2 the field at the moment, 4.5-1. And there's a lot of horses here who are prominent in the betting. It gives you an indication that it's fairly obvious that there's not one standout horse in this, I don't think.
All right, well, we'll continue the discussion in just a moment, but for more, we check in with Aaron Greider.
In a wide open race, you got Hemp Hooray, who drew post 12, which is a very poor post when you're traveling 2 churns. These are very young horses, only traveled 2 churns one time, got narrowly defeated by a neck. I went in and spoke with Johnny Velasquez, and I asked him, with the poor post, what was your strategy? Will you allow this horse to be a little bit more aggressive and clear some horses and go forward, or would you try and just let this horse settle and tuck in and save some ground? Because at some point, he's going to have to save some ground. Johnny said, I'm going to let him run out of there. He's an aggressive horse anyway. He said, I've just got to clear some horses, save a little bit of ground, and hope that he settles after that. He said in his only defeat in the summer stakes in Canada, he said he was still a little bit too aggressive. In the last part of it, he let go of him a little bit. So he's hoping to clear those horses, not necessarily be on the lead, but get him in a nice stride, and from that point on, get him to settle and then finish.
Interesting stuff there from Aaron Greider with Hemp Hooray. And on form, he kind of does look like the main speed as well. So it's really no shock that Johnny Velasquez might get a bit aggressive with him.
Yeah, he should be a part of the early pace. I mean, you're talking about a horse that won wire to wire going 6 furlongs.
Just keeping an eye on the horses as they arrived down at the start. Frankie Dettori was mindful to keep James Garfield away from the other runners. I'm very keen on the chances of number 7, James Garfield, but as you can see there, he's got the blindfold on, the horse in the yellow colours, and he's had stallshanders keeping an eye on him. He was a little bit fractious during saddling. He's clearly been a little bit fractious arriving down at the start, and it's not the most encouraging signs to see this horse perhaps just getting a little bit boiled over beforehand. You'd want to see him go into the stalls nice and relaxed, but the preliminaries probably haven't been ideal for James Garfield.
Another horse that kind of looked like he was getting a bit washy is the number 8 Voting Control for trainer Chad Brown, and I would say it's kind of unlike him. I have seen this horse in the past 2 starts, so maybe that is a bit of a red flag.
I will say Mendelssohn looks like $3 million as he enters the starting gate.
He's probably worth about $3 million.
Keeneland September yearling, $3 million. That was a sales price. Looks like it.
Well, an incredibly competitive rendition of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. You could just see that from the betting. Excited to get things underway as we head up to Trevor Denman for the rest of the load and the call.
Will be followed in by Catholic Boy. Catholic Boy goes in. Hemp Hooray on the outside. 4 left to load. Beckford goes in. Raja Singh to the outside gate. Nassau will be second last. And My Boy Jack to complete the lineup. Massar coming forward. Goes in. My Boy Jack to the outside gate. Coming up. Goes in. They're all set. And away they go. Mendelssohn bounced smartly from the inside gate, sets off for the lead. Flame Away on the outside goes up to join Sands of Marley between them. Tucking in right behind the leaders comes Catholic Boy. Voting Control is in there as well, and Snapper Sinclair in the red goes up on the outside. Solid pace out here. There's a lot of speed on up front. Caught wide into the turn as Hemp Hooray trying to tuck in behind them now. Then we drop back to Catholic Boy at the rail. 5 off these leaders. Raja Singh is in the black colours in mid-pack. Racing in behind those two comes James Garfield in the white cap, only giving them 6-length start. They're really compact out here. Massar is in there. My Boy Jack on the far side. They followed by Untamed Domain at the back of the leading group, gives them 6-length start as they run to the half mile. And last of all is Beckford. They run into the far turn now, and Sands of Marley on the inside. Flame Away is right there as well. Incumbent is in third. Mendelssohn scrapes the paint and waits for room. Mendelssohn now, can he find somewhere to go down there? On the far side, Hemp Hooray. And Hemp Hooray in the red cap moves into contention. My Boy Jack. Untamed Domain hooked about 8 wide, but Untamed Domain running on. Homeward bound, and it's Sands of Marley. Mendelssohn hooks off the rail, and here comes Mendelssohn with a powerful run now down the centre of the track. Untamed Domain is running on gamely as well, and Voting Control comes late, but Mendelssohn in full flight for the wire, and Mendelssohn will go all the way. Mendelssohn and Ryan Moore have won it. Untamed Domain was second, Voting Control was third. Catholic Boy running on late, and Beckford was just behind that.
Well, Team Europe continues to have a strong hand in this race as we see Mendelssohn just absolutely loaded throughout, and an incredibly impressive performance today.
Yeah, very good ride by Ryan Moore. No such trouble as he was encountered with when he rode happily earlier on in the program. It's the 27th Group or Grade 1 of 2017 for trainer Aidan O'Brien. He broke Bobby Frankel's record that he set in 2003 on Champions Day in the UK, on Racing Post Trophy Day, I should say, in the UK recently. He continues to set records, Aidan O'Brien. Another Breeders' Cup winner for him, another Breeders' Cup winner for Ryan Moore in a Breeders' Cup race that they traditionally do very, very well with. You asked the question, why wasn't this horse perhaps in the dirt race? Well, that was the answer, Joe. He was tuned to the minute on the grass today, and he was in the dream position throughout. From stall one, Ryan Moore put him up prominent. They then stacked it up down the middle part of the race, and he had a finishing burst good enough to win, and win impressively here.
It's interesting, though, because with the dirt pedigree, you have to try it, I think, at some point. This could be a horse that, you know, we might see advance towards a run, maybe a race like the Kentucky Derby. You have to try dirt at some point. Right now, that was an impressive win on turf.
And that's a really good shout, actually, Joe, because Ballydoyle, they're not shy of trying horses internationally, and they've had runners in the Derby in the past. And given his pedigree and the improvement he's starting to show latter part of his 2-year-old campaign, he might be peaking right in time for a Derby campaign starting next year. And
look at the improvement that he's made in terms of professionalism as well. He did not turn a hair before the gate or even after the gates open. Just very, very well met.
And you made a really good point beforehand, Gabby, about the blinkers. The headgear seems to really sharpen this horse up, just woken him up to the job in hand. He's much more professional now. He's far straighter than he showed earlier on in his career, and it enabled Ryan Moore to take the race by the scruff of the neck and say, right, we're going to be in charge of what happens out there. And ultimately it was very, very decisive.
A $3 million Keeneland September sales grad, and based on what we've seen so far, based on the pedigree, obviously already a Grade 1 winner now after this victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Lots to look forward to, and maybe $3 million wasn't too much to pay, as it turns out anyway. Who knows?
Maybe not. Yeah, absolutely. And, well, looking forward now to seeing U.S. Navy flag moving forward as well after the decision that they did make. But, guys, it did kind of look like a pretty hot and contentious pace, maybe fizzled out some of those horses that were more forwardly placed.
Yeah, I think what happened, actually, is that we heard from Aaron down at the start regarding Johnny's move on Hem Hooray, the 12 horse from out wide. A lot of the horses drawn wide who wanted to go forward, as they often do, they've sort of pressed forward, but then I think the pace did just slacken in the middle part of the race to the eye. Obviously the sectionals will tell us a different story perhaps, but to the eye I think they did stack it up, and it meant that Ryan Moore had enough left in the tank to kick on and land another Breeders' Cup race.
You could do a lot worse than a Ryan Moore, Jose Ortiz, Javier Castellano trifecta at that number, $301.75 for 50 cents.
Hindsight is always 20/20, that's for sure, Joe. But these are the official results for Race 8, brought to you by Twin Spires. We'll be right back after this break as we dive into the Breeders' Cup Distaff.
At Calumet Farm, we know it takes time to make history. For over 90 years, Calumet has bred champions with bloodlines that excel on dirt and turf.
It is citation by 2.
Claiming 2 Triple Crown winners and a record 8 Kentucky Derby winners.
Oh, there's your Kentucky Derby.
The time-honored traditions of our past set the high standards for our future. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Away they go. Mendelssohn bounced smartly from the inside gate, sets off for the lead. Flame away on the outside, goes up to join Sands and Marley between them. Tucking in right behind the leaders comes Catholic Boy. Boating Control is in there as well, and Snapperson clear in the red, goes up on the outside. Solid pace out here, there's a lot of speed on up front. Caught wide into the turn as Hem Parade trying to tuck in behind them now. Then we drop back to Catholic Boy at the rail, 5 off these leaders. Rajah Singh is in the black colours in that pack. Racing in behind those two comes James Garfield in the white cap, only giving them 6-length start. They're really compact out here. Massar is in there, My Boy Jack on the far side. They followed by Untamed Domain at the back of the leading group, gives them 6-length start as they run to the half mile, and last of all is Beckman. They run into the far turn now, and Sands of Mali on the inside. Flame Away is right there as well. Incumbent is in third. Mendelssohn scrapes the paint and waits for room. Mendelssohn now, can he find somewhere to go down there? On the far side, Hemp Hooray. And Hemp Hooray in the red cap moves into contention. My Boy Jack. Untamed Domain hooked about 8 wide, but Untamed Domain running on. Homeward bound, and it's Sands of Mali. Mendelssohn hooks off the rail, and here comes Mendelssohn with a powerful run now down the centre of the track. Untamed Domain is running on gamely as well, and Voting Control comes late, but Mendelssohn in full flight for the wire, and Mendelssohn will go all the way. Mendelssohn and Ryan Moore have won it. Untamed Domain was second, Voting Control was third. Catholic Boy running on late, and Beckett was just behind that.
in the Juvenile Turf, and to hand off the trophy for the Juvenile Turf race to the connections of Mendelssohn, we have celebrity chef and a Breeders' Cup ambassador, Bobby Flay.
Thanks so much, Brittany. Gentlemen, ladies, congratulations on behalf of the Breeders' Cup. We are so happy that you were able to bring such amazing quality from Ireland to compete here and, of course, take home this beautiful trophy. Mr. Tabor, Mr. Smith, Mr. O'Brien, congratulations. Here you guys go.
Thank you very much.
Michael, I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of what Bobby Flay said. You have done so much for the horse racing industry across the pond as well as here in America. Can you talk to us about what this moment is like for you as owners time and time again, because I know it does not get old?
Well, it's obviously a great moment. I mean, to come to this track, which is very tough because it's not what they're used to, and Ryan rode a great race to get him out and get a position, because happily, unfortunately, couldn't get that position in the previous race. So it means a lot to adapt to these conditions, which are so different from Europe.
Ryan Moore is truly a magician of a rider. Were there any nervous moments for you, though, coming around that far turn, whether or not Mendelssohn was going to get out?
Not really, because I always thought he had a great position. He had him in the perfect place, and so and he seemed to me to be going within himself quite comfortably. So I was quietly confident.
Comes full circle, purchased in Keeneland. He is the half-brother to our Breeders' Cup Distaff winner of last year, Beholder. You have a lot of American fans now for Mendelssohn.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, that's the beauty of the game.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Another big win for Coolmore right here in the Juvenile Turf with Mendelssohn.
In the quest for perfection, there are no minor details and no effort unimportant. You could call it a passion, but we just call it the perfect trip. Brought to you every day by Sentient Jet, proud partner of the Breeders' Cup and the perfect trip.
Into the final furlong of the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, and Classic Empire wins it in style.
Here's the Meyer, Classic Empire. He's a champion 2-year-old.
Here's the champ, Classic Empire, Classic Empire.
Feel the excitement with TwinSpires.com, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby and Breeders' Cup. With TwinSpires.com, place legal wagers and watch live horse racing wherever you are, on any device. Sign up, play, and win today. New players use promo code FREE100 on sign up to start your $100 bonus. With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Breeders' Cup. Get the TwinSpires.com app to receive special offers and the most up-to-date information. Terms and conditions apply. Void where prohibited. Please wager responsibly.
Lunge at the end, a thriller in the Travers.
Here to give one, he said no, 975 I have, 975,000, thank you.
Any horse can develop certain types of lameness. Adequan IM, proven to reverse degenerative joint disease, stimulate cartilage repair, and improve overall joint function in the knee and hock joints. Talk to your veterinarian about FDA-approved Adequan IM. Safety not established in breeding horses, not for use in horses intended for human consumption.
in addition to being an outstanding world-class chef, Bobby Flay is a horse racing enthusiast extraordinaire and Breeders' Cup board member and ambassador. And surrounded by some of the finest chefs in the land, his good friends, part of a huge event that so many were treated to last night at the Birch Aquarium in downtown San Diego. The Taste of the World featured the finest chefs, culinary giants representing various nations throughout the world, some of the best and most unique food, pairings of beverages to go with those dishes. And last night, in addition to the opportunity to mix and mingle with the fish and the finest in thoroughbred racing, we were treated to entertainment by none other than world-class singer and poet Jewel. Just an impromptu visit at one of the finest events you will find connected to Breeders' Cup. The food, absolutely delicious. Meatballs, empanadas, and of course, a different beverage to go with every dish. Bobby Flay, a key part of organizing the event every year and treating Breeders' Cup fans, visitors, horsemen, jockeys, and all in attendance to a wonderful night befitting a championship event. And a great prelude to this world-class event. I'm Kate and Brader, joined once again by Tom Amos and Gabby Gaudette. And wow, what a day it's been already, and hard to believe that we still have the Breeders' Cup Distaff, the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff, coming up in about 24 minutes. And I just can't quite put into words some of the stretch finishes we've seen, some surprises, and of course a triumph by the Europeans in the last race. It's had a little bit of everything.
It's been a great day. We've crowned some champions today, and this is the one I think we've all been waiting for. The older fillies and mares, the Distaff going 2 turns at 1 1/8. 6 3-year-old fillies are going to try the older mares to see if they can have their shot at being Eclipse champion of 2017.
And what a difference a year makes, as well as we saw this time last year, the likes of Beholder and Songbird, and one of the most thrilling stretch runs in the Distaff history. So we'll see what unfolds here this afternoon. And surprisingly so, or unsurprisingly so, we see a late opening up as the favorite. She, guys, has been pretty much the buzz horse throughout the week.
She's one of those 3-year-old fillies. She comes from New York and just beat older mares in the Bellmaid after being quite a bit of trouble in that race. But it is a surprise, Gabby, that we're 9-5 on that 3-year-old late. There are plenty of good horses in here, plenty of options, and plenty of value on that tote board.
Let's start with the morning line favorite, Stellar Wind, now at 3-1 on the board, breaks from post position 2. 3 for 3, undefeated at Del Mar, and in contrast to sophomore Elate, the experience in the Breeders' Cup. 5-year-old mare has been here before. She comes off a 3-race win streak, but she also comes off a layoff.
You talk about that 3-race win streak. She's 3 for 3 in 2017 since last year's Breeders' Cup. Undefeated this year. Maybe it sounds a little counterintuitive, but to me, even with those 3 wins, she's lost a step from last year.
We'll see. She is undefeated here at Del Mar, so that could obviously be a feather in her cap. And last year, going back to the Breeders' Cup Distaff, she really did lose all hope coming out of the gate. She did not break well, and she's more of a tactical type of filly that needs to be more forwardly placed, or mare, I should say. But I agree with you. I think in the Clement Hirsch last time out, Tom, you know, Valderie, who I think is actually a very talented filly in her own right, she gave her a run for the money coming down the stretch.
As the official partner and timekeeper of the Breeders' Cup World Championships, Longines proudly lends its name to the always exciting Longines Distaff race. The beauty and grace of racing reflects the Longines motto that elegance is an attitude. So the Swiss watch brand will present the Longines Prize for Elegance both today and tomorrow to the most elegant lady and gent in attendance. The official watch of the event is the Conquest VHP, Very High Precision, which represents a new achievement in the field of quartz, combining great precision, high technicality, and a sporty look marked by the brand's unique elegance.
talk about elegance, it would be hard to find a better and more elegant group of fillies and mares assembled than we see in the field here. So fitting that Longines is the presenting sponsor of the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Stellar Wind scheduled to sell at the November breeding stock sale at Keeneland beginning on November 7th. And this kind of her swan song of sorts is this, and the fact that the race has been sort of the point throughout the season, something that John Sadler has had earmarked for her, and everything she's done up to this point, her being geared toward, as opposed to some of the other 3-year-old fillies that have kind of taken themselves here. Does that make a difference?
Yeah, well, it's time. I mean, Stellar Wind is a 5-year-old mare, and at this point, if she doesn't go on to her next career of being a broodmare, there's actually value lost in the broodmare shed with a horse like this. So it's time for Stellar Wind, and what a wonderful way to go out a champion by winning this race. But boy, she's going to have some competition from the youngsters in here, and one of those is our favorite, Elate, the 5-horse, a 3-year-old that's really evolved over the summer at Saratoga. Let's watch her latest race at Belmont. Her first time against older mares in a Grade 1. She's stuck behind horses here. When she gets clear, she takes off.
There were some nervous moments at the quarter pole, that's for sure. Talking to Belmont after the race and Jose Ortiz, they weren't sure if she would quite work out the trip, but she found a seam and she really showed this explosive turn of foot. But was it enhanced, Tom, because of the field that she was facing?
So maybe not the greatest Grade 1 we've seen in terms of the older mares, but that's what you're getting across the country. The ones that have won in their divisions, whether it's the Midwest, the West Coast, or the East Coast, they have been much better than the rest, and we're going to face that today with the younger horses. Elate, of course, Forever and Broad will be the Midwest representative, I think, and of course Stellar Wind from out here in California.
Elate wasn't part of the group that competed in the Kentucky Oaks, but Abel Tasman certainly was, and kind of announced her presence in the division and in the fillies and mares in general. With her win in the slop at Kentucky Oaks, I think there were a few that wondered if it was the conditions of the track, but then she followed it up with the 2 straight victories, and then a defeat in the cotillion, but that many felt was maybe one of her best efforts yet, even in defeat.
Well, look, you're watching her down on the rail. She went on the rail at Parks the whole way. No one else is down on the rail at Parks on this particular day. You can see that on the video replay. She's on the worst part of the track. She had to do that after breaking poorly and having to make her run along the inside. This is actually a much better race over a deeper part of the racetrack than the rest of those fillies ran that day.
Gabby, there's some questions for Mike Smith. She's a naturally very fast filly, and talking to Mike, he says she could go right to the lead if he wanted her to, but obviously her best game sitting back, relaxing, and waiting to respond in the cotillion. She took off a little bit with him, and that's been a bit of a concern. Bob Baffert's talking about considering blinkers coming off this time to settle her a little more. He opted to leave them on.
Well, she's done this in the past several starts, too. She definitely did it in the Coaching Club American Oaks. She kind of made this really premature early move, and it happened to work out for her that day. It didn't happen to work out for her in the cotillion. So this is kind of a reoccurring theme that we see from her. I'm interested to see what we see this afternoon, but I also think it's twofold, Caton. She does have a lot of natural speed, but she also kind of doesn't break out of the gate very cleanly. It takes her a couple strides to really gather her stride, and I think that is what is kind of led to those types of performances in the afternoon.
Let's talk about home track advantage for a second with Stellar Wind coming off her victory back in July. It was July 30th, the Clement Hirsch, but she certainly does it with ease, exactly the way you want. She actually never got much of a breather throughout this race, running close to the front all the way, but was expected to win and did that.
Well, she sat off the pace of Val Dior a little bit, and it was just a race to the wire for those two. The last quarter of a mile, Stellar Wind's class prevailed. Kate, you said it, that was July 30th. That was her last race. She's going to try to win this race off a race back in July, a very difficult thing to do.
And last year, she obviously had the Zenyatta underneath of her where she beat the likes of Beholder, pointing towards the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So we'll see. But the one thing that helps her, Tom, I think you can agree, is that she is fast and she kind of has that tactical edge, as Paradise Woods looks like the main speed in here.
And you're looking at Paradise Woods right there. This is a horse that has become a speed horse. That's her game now. She's done some different things in the past, but this is the way she wants to run in front. This will be your pace setter today. The question is, how fast does she have to go to clear this group?
And it also boils down to class as well, right? Because you can be the pace of the race and it doesn't always work out for you. We saw her in a race 2 starts back going against grade 3 company as well. She stumbled coming out of the gate, but ever since then it looks like she's really flourished. But do you think that she is at the same level as horses like Elate and Stellar Wind?
This is the filly that I've been zeroing in on as offering value in the race at odds of 6-1 right now. I thought she might be a little overlooked in the shadow of some of the others that we've spoken about, and it's proving to be the case. But if you think back to her first races early on and going into the Kentucky Oaks, she was heralded as maybe one of the factors in the 3-year-old filly division. Now, she faltered badly in the Kentucky Oaks and went to the sidelines. Maybe the slop, maybe too much too soon. Dick Mandela, Hall of Famer, has said that he felt maybe it was pushing the envelope a little bit to ship her to Kentucky. And then off the layoff in the Torrey Pine, he didn't school her at the gate prior to the race and felt that that might have contributed to her acting up before she actually broke from the gate. She's since schooled, she's done everything right and answered the questions in the Zenyatta, but you do wonder, is it circumstantial? Was it just a one-time thing? If you can throw a line through those 2 races, she's right there every time.
Yeah, I can simplify that. I think Paradise Woods' success or failure today is how easy she makes the lead. Look, there's only so much energy in each of these horses. How much energy she has to use to make the lead and clear these classy fillies is going to have a lot to do with how she finishes at a distance she's never won at, 1 1/8. I think Paradise Woods is up against it. Champagne Room, the 1 horse, is going to give her a little push on the front end, and I think that's going to do her in.
The 6 Forever Unbridled comes in off a 2-race win streak, including the Personal Ensign at Saratoga, going 1 1/8 where she defeated the Mighty Songbird. She is kind of the now horse so far as her form cycle is concerned and the attention she's been garnering.
She's only started twice this year, but they've both been winning races, and she's beaten the likes of Songbird in her last race and was dominant in doing so. She gets a great setup today, and by that I mean she's one that likes to lay back and make a late run, Gabby. The pace is here for her today for it to back up.
Well, going into the Personal Ensign, the question was how would she possibly catch the likes of Songbird, who was loose as a goose in that race, tactically. And maybe she didn't face the same Songbird as we have been known to see in the past. But the thing about Forever Unbridled is that she kind of creates her own trips, irrespective of what the pace is in front of her. Even going back to her fleur-de-lis, that was not a fast pace. That race completely held together, and yes, it was against an inferior competition, but she ran them down just like she ran down Songbird in her last race. So I think that she is just really coming into the race in great form.
And a last-minute change of jockeys on Forever Unbridled. John Velasquez gets them out. Joel Rosario, who's been riding her, will sit in the room and watch the race, but he will participate in whatever that filly makes today and get the same payday as John Velasquez.
And John Velasquez, with some experience aboard Forever Unbridled, was riding her to victory in the Apple Blossom back in the spring of last year, so at least he has ridden her before, but there are some things changing, certainly, and not the least of which is location. As far as pace is concerned, it's always different to me, but when you hit the West Coast, race is a little bit faster, more legitimate. You feel confident she can be as effective?
Well, look, we've seen other horses today win from well off the pace, so I think the track is playing very fair. I think it's playing very fast. The pace quarter to quarter has been quick in all the races, but I have not seen a dominance of certain horses and styles winning today's races. I think it's a very fair racetrack.
The horses head out to the track. Stellar Wind sits on the board at 5-2. Elate, the favorite, now at 9-5, and closely followed by Forever Unbridled, who's at 7-2 as well. Any surprises in that, Tom?
I think Elate being that strong a favorite. I mean, Gabby, you've been here all week too, and this is the wise guy horse, the horse that has trained well, that all the pundits are talking about. It's showing up on the board, but I think it's showing up stronger than I thought it would.
And I think something can also be said in the similarities, and I hate to compare her to her, but as a horse like Royal Delta, and that has been in the conversation this past week as well. In Royal Delta and Elate both have similar form in that it's taken them a little bit slower in terms of getting to their best self. So we'll see what Elate does, but she is clearly a filly that has taken her time to really start getting good. And Bill Mott has always said, you know, this wasn't an Oaks type of filly. This was an Alabama type of filly. This was a Distaff type of filly.
Our post parade for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff brought to you by Daily Racing Form. Leading them off for the Breeders' Cup Distaff, Champagne Room from the rail. Speedy Filly is a Breeders' Cup winner as a 2-year-old. She last raced in September off the layoff. She had been away from a while, but came back with a very nice comeback as a heavy favorite. She's speedy. Mario Gutierrez will try to nurse that speed.
There's a 2-horse Stellar Wind, 3 for 3 this year, undefeated. This is her 3rd Breeders' Cup Distaff that she'll run in. Her swan song, what a way to go out for her if she would happen to win this one and be a retiring champion.
And a long shot, taking a look at the 3, Moppetism for trainer Doug O'Neill. She is one of those 3-year-olds tackling older company for the first time. She has been defeated by the likes of Elate, Abel Tasman, and Paradise Woods in the past. Looks difficult for her to turn the tables.
And there's Abel Tasman, a Keeneland sales graduate, daughter of Quality Road, is 1 for 2 at Del Mar, comes off of a 2nd place finish in the Cotillion with a little trouble there. Does her best running from off the pace. Mike Smith will be riding for Bob Baffert.
Getting a look at the first time at Elate out of her stall after being saddled. She looks great. This is the Now horse, a 3-year-old filly that is trying to get to the head of this division and doing it the right way by saving her best races for late in the year.
Boy, she really couldn't look better.
And the 6, Forever Unbridled, sent out by trainer Dallas Stewart. She has taken 2 graded stakes so far this year in the Grade 2 Fleur de Lis, and following that up with a Grade 1 win in the Personal Ensign over the likes of Songbird. She will be looking to close from off the pace.
Stephen Sarkovsky and Marty Wydot's Paradise Woods is next, winner of the Zenyatta in wire-to-wire fashion at Santa Anita last out. She's 3 for 6, lifetime trained by Dick Mandela.
We're going to clear out our field here with the 8-horse rounding out our field. This is Romantic Vision, a horse that has certainly earned her way to this spot, winning a Grade 1 in her latest start, but has to step up again if she's going to be competitive with this group.
And that is your field for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. As far as speed figures and buyers are concerned, DRF buyer speed figures show us that Paradise Woods has the fastest last out buyer of 105. Coming off of at least a powerful performance so far as buyer speed figures are concerned, but it's one thing to do it on the lead. It's another thing to do it on the lead in the Breeders' Cup against the likes of Champagne Room, Stellar Wind, and some of the others. And you know, that to me is the question: what Victor Espinoza opts to do with Stellar Wind. How fast will she go early? What looks ideal for her, and what kind of decisions will he have to make off the break?
Well, I think Stellar Wind has that characteristic we all wish all of our horses had, and that is tactical speed. So Stellar Wind has the advantage, and Victor Espinoza, who's on her back, has the advantage of watching the race unfold a little bit. If it's too fast, he can take back off the speed, which in this case I think is going to be the 1 Champagne Room and the 7 Paradise Woods. Or if something unusual happens and it's there for him, he has the ability to take the lead early.
And in terms of kind of watching how the main track has been playing over the course of the past couple of days, guys, it kind of looks like riders are making a bit of an early move to get into position by the time they're at the quarter pole, because it looks like horses aren't making up a tremendous amount of ground coming down the stretch. And on top of that, it's a short stretch, a very short stretch. So I can imagine that they will have Paradise Woods cornered by the time we get to the quarter pole.
We focused on the big names, the horses that everyone is betting on, leaving the long shots, Champagne Room, Mopetism, and Romantic Vision to the outside. But let's talk a little more about Abel Tasman and tactically what has to happen for her.
And look, Abel Tasman hasn't seen odds of 9-2 since before the Santa Anita Oaks back in April. This is a big price on the Kentucky Oaks winner, the equivalent of the Kentucky Derby for girls. And I am stunned that she's up there at 9-2 right now.
It's interesting, and as a bettor and as a fan of the 4 Abel Tasman, isn't this now the time to strike?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're getting value in Abel Tasman all the way. Again, another one that has that tactical speed and can kind of do what she needs to do as long as Mike Smith can control her. Gabby, you touched on that being a problem in the past. I think with this smallish field and there being a legitimate pace up front, Abel Tasman will run the right kind of race.
Let's get more from Michelle Yu.
Dallas Stewart sends out Forever Unbridled in here. Dallas, this filly only 2 starts this year, and I feel like she's a little under the radar maybe. Was that by design?
2 starts, 2 wins.
2 Grade 1 wins, right?
How about that?
Well, she's coming into here. What do you think her toughest hurdle to overcome is going to have to be?
Well, she's got to get along with the track. You know, it's a little bit of a shorter stretch, so I think that that's one thing that she's going to have to, you know, as you say, a hurdle, but she's ready.
Now, what about the jockey change? This was a last-minute situation at the draw.
Well, like I said, you know, she's doing good. We got a great rider, John Velasquez, today, so we're ready to go.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, you've got world-class riders here going from one to another, but familiarity with the horse certainly got to be something that's considered in every situation. I mean, from a handicapper's perspective, it gives me just a little pause as far as Forever Unbridled is concerned, because she did such good work with Joel Rosario on board.
Well, I understand that, the emotional feeling of, boy, you know, Joel deserves to ride the horse back, but it's a big boys game, and Johnny Velasquez is undefeated on her in 2 starts, at least in the past couple of years, so these guys are pros. They can ride a horse they've never sat on before and do everything right on them. I don't think it's a cause of concern at all.
Joel does have a very specific style, though, and he does suit particular horses in one certain way, and I do think that Joelle as a rider has suited Forever Unbridled very, very well, including in her last race in the Personal Ensign, where he kind of drifted her out to the middle of the track so that Songbird wouldn't see her and get those competitive juices flowing. But that said, at the same time, this is a mare who's just going to sit back and try to make that one move, and it's not like Johnny Velasquez has never been on her before.
You know, and I don't think this is the case with Forever Unbridled or necessarily any of the mares in this race, but when you look at 5-year-old mares like Romantic Vision, Forever Unbridled, and Stellar Wind, do you ever see the instances where the older, more mature fillies change a bit so far as either style, temperament, and even kind of willingness, and particularly with Stellar Wind, just in terms of tailing off a little bit, you wonder, is she quite as brilliant as she was earlier on? She's certainly extremely good regardless.
Yeah, no, she's a very good mare. She's 5 years old. You know, look, when I made the statement earlier that I think she might have lost a step, as I said, she's 3 for 3 this year, and they're all grade 1s, so that might sound a little off the mark, but I don't think those wins are by very much, and she's been in a fight every time.
Let's go trackside by the gate, Aaron Greider.
I would like to say in the paddock, Paradise Woods stood out. She looked amazing coming out there. But once they got on the track, everybody is done with their warm-ups. They've all walking in a circle now. They're just letting their horses cool out and relax. Elate did warm up without the pony. Jose Ortiz decided to go out there, allow her to go out, reach out a little bit further. When you're without a pony, you can let your horse get in stride. The pony's there to protect us from going too fast. Obviously, Jose Ortiz had confidence in her. She looked beautiful warming up. This race is going to be interesting because you've got Champagne Room, Stellar Wind, and Paradise Woods all with speed. You got 2 great 3-year-olds that are going to be coming from off it. Elate's last race was amazing. She was bottled up early on, didn't get in any trouble, but when she got room, she made trouble for everybody else. And Abel Tasman, I talked to Mike Smith. You know, there's been a lot of talk about her being rank. She's not a rank filly. She's a very classy filly. She's not going to have to run into the type of slow paces that she's run into the last 2 times. She's going to be running behind a good pace, which is going to allow her to settle into her stride, not make that early run, because they're going to carry her to them. Once they put in their first 5/8 of a mile, Mike's going to allow her to get into stride and make that run. He's got to make his run because Elate's going to get the first jump on him, but it's going to be a great race.
Some interesting thoughts as far as the pace is concerned, particularly with Abel Tasman. Then I'm not sure I'm convinced that I think it's going to be quicker for sure. You're talking about different cast of characters than you see in any of the other races, but I don't know that it's going to be that much more heated.
Well, I mean, how much more heated can it be? I mean, if it gets any more heated than that, it's going to be ridiculous. But by that I mean how fast the pace is actually going to be. The question is the pace going to be too quick for the front runners to hold on? And in my opinion, it's going to be too quick. And that's why I like tactical speed. We talked about Stellar Wind having it, but we also talked about Abel Tasman having it. And that's who I'm on. I'm strongly on the 4-horse here. I think that horse sits the trip perfect, gets the first jump when it's time to move. We'll see what happens.
And what we've seen from Abel Tasman in her last 2 starts in particular, it'll be interesting to see if she does that again, because she kind of speeds up the middle half of the race and compromises other pace horses. So we'll find out what she does out of the gate today.
I'm going to go with Paradise Woods to the outside with the speed and hope that it is a little slower than it might appear it could be. We'll see what Champagne Room does from the rail. Just about ready for post time. We had upstairs Trevor Denman to call the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff.
Paradise Woods in the white cap. Paradise Woods goes in. Here's Abel Tasman second last. Romantic Vision. All set now for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. And away they go. Champagne Room broke smoothly from the inside gate. In the center, Paradise Woods, Romantic Vision on the outside. Still a Wind is sent along down at the rail, and Bobatism right behind the leaders. Here's a Late in the blue cap, going to drop back into the 6th spot, been followed then by Forever Unbridled. Abel Tasman is the early trailer, gives an 8-length start. They hit past the 7/8 pole, and Champagne Room ensures a good pace, leads it just over a length. Paradise Woods has taken a nice old second, comfortable low in second, just a length off that leader. Stellar Wind scraped faint in third, and here's he Late in a good spot in 4th in the blue cap, 2 lengths off the leaders, then Bobatism. We come back to Forever Unbridled, Romantic Vision, and Abel Tasman as last gives them 9-length start. Down the backstretch they go in the Distaff, still a long shot, Champagne Room showing the way, only leads at a neck now. Paradise Woods is now breathing down her neck in second, and he Late on the far side travels well. He Late now goes to make it 3 in a line. Stellar Wind down at the rail, then Bobatism. Forever Unbridled is racing behind that. Abel Tasman second last, has 6 to make up, and Romantic Vision's dropped out last. They come into the quarter pole now on the outside. Paradise Woods goes looking for a run now. On the wrong side of that, we have Elate coming with her run as well. And on the extreme outside, Forever Unbridled, Champagne Room back at the rail. Abel Tasman battling on behind that. They are homeward bound now. Along the inside, we have Paradise Woods, but on the outside, Forever Unbridled takes the lead. Here's Abel Tasman flying late. Abel Tasman coming at Forever Unbridled. Forever Unbridled, the wire will come in time. Forever Unbridled has won the Distaff. Forever Unbridled, Abel Tasman flying second. Paradise Woods third, then Elate, Bobatism. Behind that came Champagne Room. Stellar Wind was next, and then Romantic Vision.
Victory in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff to Forever Unbridled, but what a finish. Abel Tasman closing with every stride, could not quite undo Forever Unbridled. Both fillies making a move. Gabby, you called it John Velasquez making an early move with Forever Unbridled that pays off.
That's exactly what he needed to do, Kaiten. He just put her in the position to succeed. At first I was getting a little bit worried as we saw Johnny V kind of make that early move, and obviously Abel Tasman trying to pick up the pieces, but it turned out to be the right move, and she was very good today too.
Look, unfortunate to have a loser between those two.
Right.
Both ran terrific races. Abel Tasman had way too much to do turning for home. Couldn't catch a horse that was finishing well in Forever Unbridled. And other than the connections, the only other really happy person right now is Joel Rosario, who's sitting there in the room having a Coca-Cola, and he just made $120,000 because he gets what Johnny Velasquez gets in this race.
Well, and double the pleasure for Charles Fipke, not only owner, but also breeder of this daughter of Unbridled Song, 5-year-old mare out of Lemons Forever, who Dallas Stewart also is directly connected with. And that has to be even more gratifying for him, having trained generations of this family, to have this victory today.
Yeah, look, that's a pedigree, right? Lemons Forever won the Kentucky Oaks. This mare now 5. This will probably be her last start, although I haven't heard the connections say that. But what a grand race. And think about the training job Dallas Stewart had to do. 3 races this year, all separated in time between the 3, and comes into this race a winner off those 2 preps.
And even from the moment that she shipped in here to Del Mar, I actually saw and watched her get off the van, and she just looks like a horse that is completely thrived and flourished this year, although she has had a pretty light campaign. But, you know, I think it's just Dallas really listening to this horse and doing what he's telling her to do.
Official goes up on the board. Victory to the 6, Forever Unbridled. 6, 4, 7, 5, 3 in the 5th spot. And Paradise Woods setting the pace as expected, or battling for the lead, but took a minute or 2 for that pace to develop out of the gate. Just kind of a couple steps, so to speak, that everybody started wondering what was going to happen. And maybe with Abel Tasman, of course, dropping so far back out of it too, that didn't necessarily help.
It ended up being a 2-horse race down the lane, and it was the horses that closed in this race that fought for this championship title. Just a spectacular performance by Forever Unbridled, and a great ride by John Velasquez.
Tom, were you at all surprised that they weren't as aggressive with Paradise Woods as we predicted? Because it did kind of look like Flavienne Prat made a conscious decision to take her back and kind of keep her wide going into the first turn.
The connections of Champagne Room said, we're going to make the lead here. I think that people heard that and said, okay, we're not going to beat her to the lead. Let's lay right off of her.
See Twin Spires prices showing Forever Unbridled, $9.40 for the victory. We'll take a short break and return with much more as we wrap up the Breeders' Cup Distaff and look forward to the Ken Matty coming up, last race on the card.
This November, an elite group of Grade 1 winning mares will be showcased on the world stage. The Keeneland November Breeding Stock Sale, featuring the exceptional Lady Eli, Stellar Wind, Catherine Sophia, Her Eminency, Pala Queen, Street Fancy, Al's Gal. Make plans to attend the Keeneland November Breeding Stock Sale, November 7th through 18th. Learn more at november.keeneland.com.
Racing is, in fact, a family, and the family centers around the horse.
In order to work on the racetrack, you really have to love horses. When you're working with the horse every day, you care for this horse, and you want to do what's right for the horse.
I find them to be very regal and very noble. They teach you about yourself. They mirror your emotions back to you.
When you trust them and they trust you, there's nothing like it.
So it's really important for people to be involved in this sport who love horses, who care about horses, and are willing to put that extra mile into doing the right thing.
You know, we all have dreams.
Yes, Grosselmeyer, what a finish to the Classic. Speightstown wins by 2 on the wire.
But if you have the courage to walk toward those dreams,
Super Saver in the Kentucky Derby.
This could be you someday.
Take your next step. Dream big. Breed Windstar.
And away they go. Champagne Room broke smoothly from the inside gate. In the center, Paradise Woods, Romantic Vision on the outside. Still a Wind is sent along down at the rail, and Bogatism right behind the leaders. Here's a Late in the blue cap, going to drop back into the 6th spot. Been followed then by Forever Unbridled. Abel Tasman as the early trailer gives an 8-length start. They hit past the 7/8 pole, and Champagne Room ensures a good pace, leads it just over a length. Paradise Woods has taken a nice hold second, comfortable though in second, just a length off that leader. Stellar Wind scraped faint in third, and here's he Late in a good spot in 4th in the blue cap, 2 lengths off the leaders, then Bogatism. We come back to Forever Unbridled, Romantic Vision, and Abel Tasman as last gives a 9-length start. Down the backstretch they go in the Distaff. Still a long shot. Champagne Room showing the way. Only leads at a neck now. Paradise Woods is now breathing down her neck in second. And Elate on the far side travels well. Elate now goes to make it 3 in a line. Still a win down at the rail. Then Mopetism. Forever Unbridled is racing behind that. Abel Tasman second last, has 6 to make up. And Romantic Visions dropped out last. They come into the quarter pole now. On the outside, Paradise Woods goes looking for a run now. On the wrong side of that, we have Elate coming with her run as well. And on the extreme outside, Forever Unbridled, Champagne Room back at the rail. Abel Tasman battling on behind that. They are homeward bound now. Along the inside, we have Paradise Woods, but on the outside, Forever Unbridled takes the lead. Here's Abel Tasman flying late. Abel Tasman coming at Forever Unbridled. Forever Unbridled, the wire will come in time. Forever Unbridled has won the Distaff. Forever Unbridled, Abel Tasman flying second. Paradise Woods third, then Elate Mopetism. Behind that came Champagne Room. Stella Wynn was next, and then Romantic Vision.
Fred Hertrick, chairman of the Breeders' Cup here. Chuck Fipke, the winning owner with Forever Unbridled and his Longines Distaff, again sponsored by Longines. Juan Carlos Capelli of Longines here to make a very special presentation.
It is a real pleasure to give a Longines watch to the owner, trainer and jockey of the winner of this fantastic race today.
Thank you, Juan.
Thank you so much.
This performance, Chuck, from Forever Unbridled, it's her second win in a Breeders' Cup event. She was third to Beholder Songbird last year. What does it mean for her to come back and win the most important race for North American fillies and mares in the country?
Well, I just feel I'm really a lucky person, you know, and I'm lucky to have great team, you know, like John Velasquez and Dallas Stewart. And I'm just very humbled that we were able to make it this time.
So I have to ask, it was a much maligned decision at the time when you decided to switch jockeys, go from Joel Rosario to a Hall of Famer and John Velasquez. What went into the decision-making process?
Well, John, he's pretty consistent, hey, and he won the last Breeders' Cup race for us, hey, and he's a wonderful rider. And actually, Joel Rosario is a very good rider. He did a great job on the last race, hey, but I just felt that we'd have a better luck with a more consistent person.
I saw you whisper something to Forever Unbridled a moment ago. What did you say?
I just said, I just petted her and says, "Great, sweetie."
What does she mean in terms of your career and the success you've had in this game? What does Forever Unbridled mean to Chuck Fipke and his involvement in horse racing?
Well, yeah, it's the family. She's from Dallas Stewart's trained Kentucky Oaks winner, and her full sister is a Group 1 winner too. In fact, she won a win and you're in, and we took her out of the Breeders' Cup because we had an X-ray that showed there was a little bit of a weakness in the bone, and there was there could have been a chance that we could have compromised the horse. So I pulled her out of the Breeders' Cup last year. The full sister, who's a Group 1 winner though. Yeah.
We in the media have this bad habit of not letting you celebrate too long. You win a race like this, and we immediately want to know what's next. So for Forever Unbridled, what's next?
The Pegasus and then the Dubai Cup.
Pegasus World Cup, North America's richest race, worth $12 million. A victory here for Forever Unbridled. Chuck Fipke, congratulations everyone. Dallas, Johnny, excellent work. Guys, back to you. What a performance, Forever Unbridled in the Longines Distaff.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Quality Road, proving Lane's End's tried and true stallion making formula. A formula that leads to success for our partners and our stallions. Before siring a $1 million yearling at the Keeneland September sale, Quality Road sired Breeders' Cup and Royal Ascot winners in his first crop, and was one of only 4 sires to produce multiple 2-year-old G1 winners in 2016, including Abel Tasman, 4-time Grade 1 and Kentucky Oaks winner. Quality Road, a stallion that stands above the rest.
You're watching the Breeders' Cup Players Show presented by RCN. Kate and Brader, John Lee, so happy to be joining you for this Senator Ken Maddy, the nightcap, so to speak, grade 3 event coming up in about 19 minutes. But John, first, punctuation mark on the Distaff. What an amazing performance.
You know, Forever Unbridled, I got a chance to go down to the paddock for that last race as we're kind of swapping in and out, and when they came by, I kind of gave an out loud whoa. I mean, she was dappled up like a leopard down there. I mean, she just looked absolutely fantastic, ran to her looks, and Abel Tasman gave her a real run there that last part, but Forever Unbridled, just such an amazing performance, and a deserving winner of the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Great race.
We turn our attention to the Grade 3 Senator Ken Maddy Stakes with $150,000 guaranteed. They're going to go 5 furlongs on the turf. These are fillies and mares, and based on what we've seen, some of the more exciting finishes for us in the infield here at the beach, we get the bird's eye view of those horses on the turf as they come barreling down the stretch, and I can't think of a better view for those types of races here. Right now on the tote board, the 3-1 lukewarm favorite is the 2 Belvoir Bay, Great Britain bred filly trained by Peter Miller, who has some tactical early speed, but there are quite a few in this field that can make the same story.
Quite a few, and that's why I don't think there's going to be any standout. The odds reflect that right now. There's just not a true 6-5 shot here in this field, and so I would demand a bit of value. Belvoir Bay definitely is one of those. Flavien Prat, as we talked about, already has 3 winners on today's card, is going for number 4. I could see her, but like you said, a very evenly matched field. Somebody's not going to get a trip in this 5 furlong race. It happens every time. It's going to work out great for somebody, and at this level, you're just not going to be able to overcome such a troubled trip to be tons the best, because nobody is tons the best, but it'll go right for somebody. It could be Belvoir Bay.
There a look at Bill Mott with his son and assistant Riley standing in front of the 5 Vigor. Claiborne Farm, Adele Dilschneider, homebred, daughter of Warfront, 1 for 6 lifetime, and perhaps part of the early speed as she moves up off a second-place finish in Allowance Company. That was going 3/4 of a mile at Belmont Park, but she's been extremely consistent. You know, one of the wrinkles about running turf sprints at Del Mar, if you look at it that way, you have to go 5 furlongs, and that does make a difference. Vigor might be one of those fillies that she will truly appreciate how short this race is. I think she's pretty much got one way to go, right to the front, fast as she can, far as she can. So 5/8, a race like this is going to be a good trip for her. When you have to stretch her to 6, it does make a little bit of a difference, and I think we saw that last time with just her raw natural speed. That would not be any kind of a shock here, and the bettors seem to agree, one of our 3-1 shots. She seems to be one of the contenders in my mind, despite the abundance of early speed. I do think that she is consistent enough to warrant a lot of consideration with Jose Ortiz riding. The 9 Long Hot Summer comes in for Phil D'Amato. One of the few multi-race winners over the Del Mar Turf Course, 3rd in her most recent against Similar in Stakes Company. That's one of the things, a horse like Vigor, this is a new course for her. She's never raced at Del Mar before, but Long Hot Summer's got a very good record on this course. That's not insignificant, the fact that she has shown winning ability here. She had just kind of some bad racing luck a couple of starts back when she just kind of was held up in the gate, like it said, and so just tossed that race out. But she's had enough winning performances on the grass, and specifically here, that at 7-2, they're going to have to worry about her coming down the lane. She does have tactical speed, but she could also be effective with that one late kick, as she's done before. She's a California bred, but she's held her own in open company and done her home state proud. Definitely an exotics play in my mind, as she's consistently right there. Even if she doesn't win, though, she's 6 for 18 lifetime. She always tries hard and seems to come up with a share. A California bred, like you said, in this case by Street Boss, and it's just amazing. Seems like every time we turn the page to a Street Boss, they have won on the turf at some point. Street Boss, in his career, he actually won the Bing Crosby Stakes at Del Mar back during the Polytrack era, so it's not that big of a shock that as a sire, he's turned out to be a pretty good turf sire. Now on the board at 5-1 right now is my top pick, the one So Sweet It Is, who's coming off a very long layoff, but 1 for 1 on the Del Mar turf. We started the day earlier with a horse who had been away for a long time that hit the winner's circle again, and this mare, while very, very fast, has been able to be tactical. She's been able to sit off the pace. Flavien Prat rode her to victory in the Daisy Cutter at Del Mar last summer. I think if she can run that sort of a trip, that she could be really effective here.
Well, you and I both like the same horse here. I put her right on top on the track program, the picks on DMTC.com. I'm thinking the same thing. Marty Jones, by the way, grandson of Farrell Jones, one of the all-time top trainers at Del Mar. His father was Gary, excellent trainer, retired in the early 90s. Marty just keeps the family going. I'm with you on this mare. We know she likes this course. She's fast. She fires fresh. Kent Tasomo's going to have to make a decision. Is he going to send her from the inside because he has to get position? If they go fast enough, can he sit back and settle, take a breather, and come with a run? But if this mare is on her game, I have no reason to believe that this is a prep. She has what it takes, and a generous 5-1 right now in the wagering.
Based on her workout pattern and the way she looks in the paddock, I think she's ready. We'll see if the 5-year-old gray mare can be sharp off the blocks for her first start since September of 2016. The 3 Instant Reflex was a winner in her debut and an impressive-looking winner at that. Came back and faltered in her first trip against winners, but that was at Santa Anita, and to be fair, it was stretching out to a mile.
Oh, yeah, completely different story. They're just going to cut right back to 5 furlongs. Maybe at some point down the road, she could try a route again. We don't know. It was only 2 starts, but for today, right back to 5/8 on turf. We know that she has speed.
Call for riders up for the Senator Ken Maddie. We'll take a look at